I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Crisis continues in the Middle East as hundreds of Iranians are feared dead after weeks of unrest.
Well, videos online show that protesters are marching through Tehran, chanting death to the dictator and long live the Shah, with the country plunged into an internet blackout as anti-government turmoil spreads.
On the streets of Britain, an Iranian man was seen tearing down Iran's national flag on the embassy in London during an anti-regime demonstration.
The Prime Minister has condemned the killing of protesters in Iran and urged Tehran to exercise restraint.
Donald Trump has said the US is ready to help the Iranian people and threatened to attack if security forces respond violently to protests.
And then to Greenland. Could British troops be sent there? The Prime Minister is currently in talks with European allies as military chiefs draw up plans for a possible NATO mission to the country.
Also today, is it time to ban social media for the under-16s? Well, a leading teaching union has said it would improve concentration at school and stem damage to mental health. We'll debate it later.
And we'll be speaking to the boss of Wetherspoons, Sir Tim Martin, who has condemned what he calls perverse taxes that have driven up the price of a pint in a pub, saying it could well be the last straw for the industry.
And we're also talking potholes this morning because drivers across England will be able to see how well their local authority is tackling the problem with the launch of a traffic light rating system. Is it going to make any difference?
And The Apprentice star Thomas Skinner is championing men's mental health with a Sunday walking club, allowing a relaxed and judgment-free space for men to open the conversation and connect with others. We'll be live at that walk a bit later on in the programme.
A very good morning. It was perhaps the greatest FA Cup shock of all time. Macclesfield Town of the National League North, managed by the brother of Wayne Rooney, dumped holders Crystal Palace out of the competition at Moss Road. It was the first time the holders had been knocked out by a non-league club since 1908.
Hello there. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy snow, downpours of rain, some strong and gusty winds across the UK as well. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Got to be honest, I don't know a lot about Thomas Skinner.
No,
I mean, I know he's on
neither.
The Apprentice, I know he did Strictly, and there's a big controversy over the Strictly stuff. However,
The idea of a Sunday morning walk...
it's good.
It's a very good idea. And it sounds so simple, but men don't get together enough with other men.
We don't talk.
And getting outside, outdoors, is, we know, good for your mental health.
Stephen and I talk a lot, don't we?
Well, we do, yeah, but...
In here, though.
In here.
In here. Yeah.
But I mean, I just think
Not the real world, in here.
it's a positive... It's a really positive thing, actually, and just... Like Men in Sheds.
Yes.
It's really popular.
Brilliant idea.
You know, and stuff like that. Men do need to actually just communicate
With other men.
with other men and be able to have some bants, which I know is very unpopular with some people. But,
It'd be interesting to see how this morning's walk goes, because it's very cold. But that shouldn't put you off if you're dressed for it.
No, as long as you've got a few layers on.
And it's something to talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to be down there later on. It's in Brentford, I think.
Brentwood.
Brentwood.
Brentwood, yeah. I love that he's put on Instagram, lads, I'm starting a Sunday walking club because I genuinely want to help people and I love walking. And it's free.
Yes. And it is easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably have a pint at the end of it, I should imagine.
Where my son lives, they have a dog walking walk.
Really?
They're all on a WhatsApp group and they meet up. And all the dogs meet up, and everybody's got the dogs to talk about.
Yeah.
And it gets people talking and walking, and then they all go for a coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's a great initiative. I think all power to his elbow.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to... We've got Bethany down there, so hopefully we'll be able to catch a word with Thomas Skinner as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting this morning, in sort of around 8 o'clock.
Great idea. I mean, if you've experienced any mental health problems yourself and found that something like that has really helped you connect and talk, which is, we know men aren't very good at, particularly talking about something sort of intimate and personal.
Or health.
Or health, yes, that's right. Then, get in touch and tell us your story, please.
Yeah, gbnews.com/you'll just in case you're listening on the radio and you can't see it written on the screen. Anyway, let's kick off with some serious news this morning, because President Trump has said the US stands ready to help Iranian protesters find freedom like never before.
They're dreadful scenes there, aren't they? Very, very frightening. And there are reports emerging that his administration is discussing how to carry out a military strike on the country, with former CIA officials warning that the president could greenlight covert operations to destabilise the regime.
There's been protests here in the UK too. The Iranian flag was torn down by protesters at the Iranian embassy. Replaced with a pre-Islamic Revolution lion and sun flag.
Well, we're joined this morning by Defence Editor for the Evening Standard, Robert Fox, who understands only too well this sort of scene, don't you? What are your thoughts this morning? I mean, could this be the start of some real change?
It's very hard to tell, and you don't want to hear that from me. There have been big protests before the 2009 Green Revolution, so-called, when they thought that the presidential election had been stolen with good evidence. And that was where Twitter was used for the first time, and it was very well coordinated. What's so difficult this time, as in 2017, 2022 were the really big ones, was how well coordinated it is. And the thing that is most worrying is there a coherent leadership? It's been countrywide. I mean, it really is quite dramatic. North, south, east and west. By that, I mean right up to Mashhad in the northeast, right down the Gulf, the big ports there. And this is absolutely a protest of the completely fed up, because this time it was the collapse of the real, the collapse of the currency, just after Christmas, our Christmas, around the 27th, 28th of December, that really triggered this time, with merchants shutting up shop and burning down parts of the Tehran bazaar. What is worrying tonight is as of overnight, I've been looking at the overnight things that are picked up from what can be gleaned, is that the regime is saying it's all calm, people are off the streets, and the army has put out a statement. This is very unusual that the army, we could talk about this later, has got involved and said foreign troublemakers, agitators, invaders, beware. And it's really trying to whip up national unity, which has happened before. It happened during the brief bombing war, the 12-day war, so-called, in June. And so it's unclear how far forward it would go, but the figures coming out are horrific. Conservatively, the Norwegian Human Rights Watch, which is very, very careful, said 51 have been killed. But anecdotally, it's hundreds, because they have been shooting at protesters.
What is... I mean, look, as you say, we don't know where this is going to go. But if it does go the way that a lot of people would want, the big question is what happens next. And it's almost be careful what you wish for. It's quite interesting that the Shah as he positions himself now, the son of the deposed Shah, is even talking about a constitutional monarchy, or the potential of a constitutional monarchy, which at least some would say would ease some of the concerns about him taking absolute power.
Yes, Reza Pahlavi is very shrewd. He said, we're not going to have a rerun of my father's regime, but it's how you can get it together. Because, Stephen, the thing that you've got, all my Iranian friends and contacts are saying, it's so broken, this country. The economy is absolutely bust. It's very difficult to know how to put it together. It's very interesting what President Trump is doing. And I think by his standards, by any standards, actually, he's been quite cautious about this. Because look on this and look on this. He's got the same thing, not to the same degree, in Venezuela. Venezuela is a completely bust-up, crazy economy, which had been recognised quite generally as a mafia state. I'm not saying that that Iran is a mafia state, although it has many, many aspects of a mafia state. Hence, I said the army is terribly interesting, because this
is that the same as the Revolutionary Guard?
No, because the Revolutionary Guard Corps is the elite, and they're the fat cats with the snouts in the trough. You know, that they do things, they run a lot of the terrorism campaigns, the subversive campaigns, sponsors of Hezbollah, and so on. But they're what's known in old Russian terms as a kombinat. They're a business. Business, my friend, is business. And they are the pinnacle of Iranian corruption, which, as John Major would say, is very considerable indeed. But it's very interesting that particularly the family of Khamenei, and the family is involved, because he's trying to shovel in his son to take over from him, are relying on elements of the IRGCs, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, to keep the business going. So it's Ayatollah business as well that is involved in this.
Can you explain what... I mean, we know, we all hear that, I mean, Iran was a country where people were enlightened, they were educated, they still are, some of them. But you hear also now, after these years of the Ayatollah, that 40% are living in not just poverty, but starvation-style poverty. Does that mean that the Ayatollahs and the Revolutionary Guard, are they rich? I mean, what's in it for them to rule a country that's in...
Some of them, they are conspicuously rich.
They are?
They are fat cats going around in the dark windscreen limousines and so on. But back to the condition, the privation is such, of course, there has been tremendous environmental pressure. Some would say climate change, desertification, terrible conditions. Tehran, like so many cities, you know, Sana'a in Yemen is another one, just running out of water. And the pressure is absolutely appalling. And it's a big country. Don't forget that it's over 90 million. It's a big power. And the thing about education, which is so sad, it still has bunkered, shuttered up, an intelligentsia. There was a wonderful book that came out of it, and she had to flee in the end, called Reading Lolita in Tehran. It's an absolutely brilliant book, very sophisticated, very, very high class. And look at the medical profession in this country, the number of Iranians. They're absolutely terrific. It's eye-wateringly sad what's going on.
While we've got you, Robert, before we let you go, what's going on?
I'm coming back.
Well, yes, that's true. What is going on in Syria? Because Trump has launched some attacks overnight on Syria. Why? What for? And what impact is it going to have?
I get the very strong suspicion that we've been caught unawares at the resurgence of IS, of Islamic State, particularly around Palmyra, where the latest raids took place, because a couple of the Americans are on watch. They've got a small presence there, but they're on lookout. And a couple of Americans and their translator were killed. And this really took people by surprise. America very shrewdly, while it was preoccupied, still is, with Venezuela, got the Brits and the French, and we put up a couple of aircraft each to take out a known centre of IS activity. But this, they brought over a group of aircraft, they came through Britain, This is serious because I think that what Trump privately is signalling, look, this is a bigger problem than we realized it was, and we take it seriously because IS is global, but it's particularly aimed at you, Europe, and that's what's going on. It does relate to what's going on in Iran because some of the extremes have been sponsored by Iran. And by the way, Iran tried to get some of the militias, the Shiite militias, from Iraq to come and help them out, but the protesters actually managed to shove them back at the border, by all accounts. But there's a lot going on. And why Trump is making remarks about possibly intervening is that they're very worried about a desperate last-ditch missile strike from Iran, and they're very good at missiles, as we know. They'd like to knock, the Israelis and the Americans like to knock out a lot more. A big strike or a significant strike on Israel, and that's the great worry. Very volatile at the moment.
Indeed. Robert, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Right, it's just coming up to 6:15. Elsewhere in the world, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is reportedly in talks with European allies about deploying military personnel to Greenland that would guard the island for the US.
It follows recent threats from President Trump, who said he's considering seizing the islands for security reasons.
Now, it's understood the plans... Sorry. Please take over,
yes. I will, yes. So the plans would involve British soldiers, warships and planes being deployed to protect Greenland from Russia and China. A former special advisor, Charlie Rowley, is here. I don't know what to make of this, Charlie.
Well, a lot of people waking up this morning will think, what on earth is going on? We might have British troops not only going to Greenland in a way in which to protect NATO, to protect that NATO alliance, to keep Donald Trump's mitts or his plans of getting a grip on it, but also British troops going to Ukraine.
Why would we want to... I mean, look, there may be disagreements, there may be concerns about what Trump says he wants to do and he's going to take it come hell or high water and all these sort of things. But do we really want to pitch ourselves directly against Trump with our military?
I don't think we do. I think NATO as an alliance, which includes America, obviously, should be able to come to a conclusion and be able to de-escalate this whole conversation. But Trump has clearly got a bee in his bonnet, to put it lightly, but, put it more strongly. He's flexed his muscles. He's gone in to remove a dictator from Venezuela. He's obviously launched strikes in Syria that you were talking about. He's obviously launched strikes in Iran previously, again, that you were just talking about, expertly put by Robert there, knows his onions. You've now got a situation within the continent there in terms of the tectonic plates that divide our great world. If you look far to the right, because it's very, very northern, so it's above Canada, but look far to the right, you've got Russia maybe looking to come over the top to get to Greenland, perhaps. Look to the left, on a box-standard map, you've got Beijing and China, so easily coming over for the left. So strategically, in a part of the world, a part of the shape of our world, you've got a particular part of it, Greenland, which is self-governing by the people that are there, but it was controlled by Denmark, which has a monarchy, but has looser ties now. It is self-governing by the people. So strategically, as a plot of land, the people within it and where it's based, it's actually a vulnerable piece of land.
It's got a couple of American military bases on it, hasn't it? And the number of people who actually are Icelanders are, it's only about 400,000, isn't it? So, and the rest is just an enormous expanse of ice and snow.
Exactly.
So what's in it for anyone? Is it
but
simply...
it's the waterways.
I was going to say, is it controlling the sea lanes around?
Exactly. For those two, the east and west, and just on the back of Venezuela, for example, and the flexing of Donald Trump's muscles, will that give rise to Russia or China, where you've heard so many times about Russian submarines and ships getting into foreign territory, getting into certainly UK waters, looking at those underground cables. If they feel, right, Donald Trump has gone into Syria, Iran, now Venezuela, we're going to have a go and we're going to take a piece of strategic land that's important to the US. Now, that is a possibility that Donald Trump will say. There's internal rows, or conversations, I should say, within the Trump administration as to whether it's a good thing to take over Greenland or not. But if he were to do that, and bearing in mind, as I said before, Greenland is part of Denmark, loosely, but still governed by, Denmark is a NATO country. The whole alliance of NATO, where countries came together to form this bond, to decide that we were going to protect each other, look after each other, on the back of foreign invaders or people that want to sort of, go above and beyond and start taking back control of countries or colonies that we saw in years gone by since the war. That would be really damaging. That would cause a lot of tension and friction amongst Western countries, including the UK. And it would, as you say, Stephen, it would pit the UK, if it decides to send troops to Greenland, it would pit the UK very much against the US.
Except, because it is strategically so important and no one will be better at defending that than the United States, they could look at... I mean, there's been talk about leasing it, potentially, which means you're not invading, you're not taking over, you're not claiming a 51st state or whatever. But if you can lease it and let the Americans run it, then we wouldn't have anything to moan about, would we?
I think that's right. But I also think, look, this is Donald Trump we're talking about, who doesn't do leases, doesn't do loans. He does deals. He does deals, but he's the winner of those deals. And for him, if he sees this as an all or nothing, this is prime real estate, if I can put it in his terms, of strategic land for the US, then that's what he's going to go for. And I think if there were that... there are great qualities about Donald Trump's approach to some things, which is very bullish, which is very, very direct. Getting NATO to spend more money on defence, for example, where we were too reliant on the US. He didn't hang about making his points very clear about what he thought Europe and NATO should do. So we've stumped up a bit more cash. There is a lacking in times of diplomacy around Donald Trump, particularly publicly. Again, choosing my words quite carefully. I think this is one of them. Had he chosen to be a bit more diplomatic about it and talk to NATO allies and say, look, this is actually very important strategically, not just for the US, but as the US is the more or less defender still of the rest of us in the West, it would be very helpful for us to have a bit more of a presence in Greenland and therefore a bit more control and a bit more say than most people might have actually said, you know what, fair play. We'll have a conversation and, we might welcome this debate a bit more openly than the friction that we're currently seeing.
Yeah. All right, Charlie, we'll see you later. But now, thank you.
Well, do let us know what you think, because maybe President Trump is being very clever in blustering at the moment. He's forcing people to actually try and come to some sort of deal over it, friendly deal that doesn't undermine NATO.
Maybe.
Who knows? I don't know.
Watch it very closely, of course. Yeah. Right, it was very cold when I got in the car this morning. I don't know about you.
Yeah, very, very.
So let's see what the weather's like for you wherever you are with Greg.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain, thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north. And slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK. Perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, it is 6:24. Still to come, charities say the fallout from Christmas is putting more pressure on families. Our reporter will be telling us all about that more next. You're watching GB News Breakfast with me and him.
Bowl.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Now, the cost of living is continuing to put pressure on families, but charities are saying the fallout from Christmas is pushing more people into need.
Would you believe in Bournemouth? And you always think that's the sort of place that's full of rather well-off people.
Yeah.
Not so, actually. In Bournemouth, there's a local food bank called Hope for Food, and it's facing rising costs of its own, just as demand is surging in what's now the toughest time of the year for many.
Well, our reporter Isabel Fekulak went down to the warehouse to find out more.
Christmas is a time of giving, but once the decorations come down, reality returns. This is Hope for Food, a charity that supports people across Bournemouth. From this warehouse, packages are assembled. They include food, clothes and toiletries, and for many, these boxes aren't extras, they're essentials, each one prepared by a team of volunteers.
So we do move in packs, so they are like kitchen equipment, so microwaves, toasters, basic plates, cutlery, that sort of thing, bedding. Now after Christmas we've done so many move-in packs that we are very short on a lot of these items. It's quite tricky. We can only give what we can give, which is not an ideal situation.
Hope for Food is more than just a food bank. It runs soup kitchens and delivers household essentials to those in need. But January, they say, is the toughest month of all.
It's very easy after the Christmas period and all the festivities to forget that actually people need to keep living and eating every week of the year.
4 years ago, this charity could provide a basic parcel for £10 to £15. Today, that same support costs up to £20. And it's not just the food. The rent of this unit will rise from £28,000 to £35,000 this year. Electricity bills, especially to run fridges, are climbing too. On top of that, thefts over the past 2 years have forced the charity to increase security, another cost they hadn't planned for.
Not only are there people struggling and therefore need help from the food bank, but other people are struggling as well, so they don't necessarily have the spare capacity. As far as our sustainability is concerned, if I was to think too deeply about that, I might have sleepless nights. And we just hope that we're going to be able to keep up with any demand that there is.
It's getting more difficult for this charity to provide support, just as the need is increasing. Isabel Fekulak, GB News, Bournemouth.
It is a very grim picture for many people at the moment.
Post-Christmas is often hard because people, you can't help it. You end up spending more than you ever wanted to at Christmas. Even if you're not, silly, you still do.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's so cold. And people must be really worried about heating bills at the moment.
Oh, it's grim. Anyway, perhaps you need some money. Be nice, wouldn't it? Our biggest ever cash prize winner is going to be picked at the end of this month. And the prize is £85,000 in tax-free cash. Here's how you enter.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed, because it really could make your 2026, couldn't it? Right, you're watching GB News Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. It's time now for our daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
My name's Marcus Mack. I'm a vicar in the Church of England. Do you have a favourite place on earth? Mine is Gonos Beach in Cyprus, not just because it is a mini paradise, but because I've had many happy family memories there. When Jesus was 12 years old, he went alone to his favourite place. Unknowingly, he remained in Jerusalem while his parents began the return journey home. They went back to search for him, and after 3 days, found him in the temple. when his parents asked why he had caused them so much anxiety, Jesus said, "Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?" The temple was where people could meet with God, and Jesus loved spending time with his Father in heaven. Being in the presence of God is heaven on earth. Falling in love with God is the greatest romance. Seeking him is the greatest adventure. Finding him, the greatest human achievement. We don't need to go to the temple to meet with God, because Jesus has become for us the true temple of the living God. And we can draw close to him wherever we are and experience heaven on earth.
Still to come, a huge story in the world of sport, which I didn't fully understand, and trying to get Aidan to describe it to me. He'll be able to do it for you as well, if you probably already know. It's about Macclesfield, who've shocked the world after their performance in the FA Cup yesterday. Learn more in a couple of moments.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
More than 10 people have had to be rescued after a huge sinkhole opened in a canal in Shropshire, leaving several narrowboats stranded.
Yes, 3 boats have been affected by the incident, with at least 2 swallowed by the sinkhole, which is approximately 50 by 50 metres in size.
Extraordinary. Well, joining us with the story is Paul Smith-Story, who's on a canal boat 3 boats away from this sinkhole. Paul, this sort of thing doesn't really happen very often, does it?
It doesn't. There was a huge breach on the Bridgewater Canal last year, but this is the first time we've actually seen boats at the bottom of the breach. It was quite scary to witness, to be honest.
So how close are you? What can you see from where you are?
Yeah, well, we're about 90 metres away from where the sinkhole started. We got woke up at 4:20 this morning. There was crashing on the boat because the boat was listing. We got off, and a friend of ours told us that there was this sinkhole that had appeared and that there was a boat about to drop into it. And that was, when we got there, the boat was already in the bottom of this sinkhole. The rush of water was incredible. It just sounded like a huge waterfall. Luckily, those boaters got out, and we actually know the chap whose first boat went in. We're just so thankful that he got out in time with his dog.
Gosh, Paul, just explain what we're seeing on our screens right now. So the narrow boat there has come out of the water that we see on the left, and it's sort of, has it rolled over and down into the sinkhole? What's going on?
That's the actual line where the red clay is the line of the canal. Just where those 3 trees are to the left is a field that's flooded, and I think that's where the water's escaped from the canal, and it's just flooded the field to the left of that image. It was really scary.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Aidan's got the sport, and it's FA Cup.
Without doubt, one place to start. Moss Rose.
Giant killing.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, look, how do we celebrate it? Or we reported with such fondness Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup last May against Manchester City. It was a giant killing of itself, or in and of itself, even though they were playing a team in the same division. But yesterday, the holders, Crystal Palace, went to Moss Rose in Cheshire, the home of Macclesfield Town, managed by John Rooney, brother of Wayne, and they got beaten. They got turned over. And it wasn't even that close. I mean, it was Macclesfield were convincing. They really were. I mean, Crystal Palace didn't score until the 90th minute. It was a free kick, and they were well worth their victory. And for context, Dan, this is a side who had an ex-boxing champion in there, a Love Island star, a plumber, a boxer.
That's right. Not all of them are full-time professionals.
No, they're not. They're not. I mean, they're in the 6th tier of English football, so that's 2 divisions below the professional pyramid. I mean, if you think about it, nowadays the one below the top 4 divisions is usually professional because they're only 1 division off the top 4. But in the National League North, I mean, it's rare. I mean, you get a smattering of professionals maybe, but I mean, one guy, it just shows how the fine line, or how much of a fine line there is between those who really go to the top and those who don't. There was a fellow who scored the 2nd goal yesterday called Isaac Buckley Ricketts. He was in the England under 19 team in 2017, who won the Euros with England alongside the likes of Aaron Ramsdale, Mason Mount, Reece James, all players who are playing in the Premier League right now and are earning probably £150,000 a week. And so he must have been on their level because he was at Manchester City at the time. And so for whatever reason, he just didn't make it. It could have been a bit of bad luck, could have been injury. But there were lots of players down there like that. But this hasn't happened where the holders have lost to a non-league club since 1908. And the non-league club on that day were Crystal Palace.
Really?
Only 9 times since the Second World War have a non-league side beaten a top-flight side. It doesn't happen very often. And I can't think of a time... I mean, I was listening to it yesterday and I was thinking, when has this happened before? I was trying to convey the importance to the producers. I remember Coventry City losing to Sutton United in January '89, which was the 3rd round match. They lost 2-1. Sutton were a non-league side. They were in the conference, but 1 division above where Macclesfield are now. And that was always the staging post. That was always the one. That was always the most famous of modern times, the top-flight side losing to a non-league side. But Coventry weren't actually the holders that year. They won it 18 months before. This is a side that won it in the Premier League era 6 months ago, being turned over at Macclesfield. And John Rooney, forever in the shadow of his brother Wayne.
Yeah, I know. It's wonderful for him.
It is.
Isn't it?
35 years old. We said yesterday, he said, I didn't take him at his word at all, but I said on this show yesterday that John Rooney said it'd be a bigger achievement than Wayne actually winning it in 2016 with Manchester United. Now, I have to say, it probably is. Because United back then especially were expected to go on and win those trophies. In fact, the FA Cup wasn't a huge priority. They beat Crystal Palace in the final. And I guess if you're going to get someone to bat for your life in that situation, or if you were going to put a bet on it, you'd sooner bet on United beating Crystal Palace in a final of an FA Cup in 2016 than you would on Macclesfield turning over the holders yesterday. Absolutely extraordinary events.
Absolutely massive, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they actually folded in 2020 after COVID, around about the time of COVID, and the owner, Rob Smethurst, went and bought it and all their assets, which weren't many, I don't think, a year or so later. So they've had some progress recently. I think they've had 4 promotions in 5 years or something. But this season particularly, I mean, they're only 14th in the league. They've not been pulling up trees. One of their players as well died in a car crash just 3 weeks ago. It was absolutely extraordinary. His parents were there yesterday. John Rooney was saying afterwards that, he wasn't sure how to... Everyone was celebrating, and I don't think he was sure if the parents were there, but he goes back to his office and there they are celebrating.
Very different. Oh, they were celebrating.
Yeah, they were. They were
in
loving
the name of their son.
They were loving it. They were absolutely loving it, yeah. So a brilliant day.
What happens to them now if you've beaten the holders?
Yeah.
What happened? What's next for them?
So there'll be a draw. I think it's tomorrow night or maybe Monday. There are some more ties today. Man United are playing, for example. There's some other stories yesterday. I mean, Man City scored 10 against Exeter. I know Chelsea's new manager, Liam Rossini, who we'll hear from in the next hour. They got a result at Charlton by 5-1. But I think there will be a draw. I think it's either tonight or tomorrow for the 4th round. And they'll be hoping for a great tie. Rob Smethurst, the chairman or the owner, said that he's a great Man United fan. He'd love to go to Old Trafford in the next round. Macclesfield's a quite wealthy part of Cheshire. And it's only actually to Old Trafford, probably only about...
It could be up against
35
anyone.
minutes. Yeah, without doubt. Well, anyone still left in the competition, yeah.
Yeah.
QPR, who are playing, I'm going to see later today at West Ham in the cold weather. If we were to win today, we'd be in the draw.
It's a big if.
It's a big if.
To be fair.
It is. But yeah, some interesting results yesterday. Tottenham, though, losing to Aston Villa, that was a real blow for them because that was one of their avenues towards success, and it puts more pressure on their manager, Thomas Frank. I'm sure Paul Coyte will have something to say about that later in the week.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
All right, Aidan, thank you very much indeed.
It's lovely to have a great big news story from the sports world, isn't it? It's a bit like Luke Littler and things that It just makes life interesting, doesn't it? Yeah.
Anyway, look, still to come, the homeschooling surge is threatening social skills, according to Ofsted. We'll discuss that and more in the papers with Emma Wolfe and Kevin Schofield. There they are.
First of all, though, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's where you're going to have to go for it.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It's nice and calm across the Canary Islands at the moment. Plenty of winter sunshine, but cold across parts of Italy. So you can see plenty of sunshine into Monday across Tenerife there. Madeira seeing some sunny spells. A band of rain across northern parts of Portugal and Spain stretching into France, but pleasant conditions across Italy. But cold across Greece into Turkey. A weather system clearing here, but a frost at night time. Slowly warming up over the next few days there.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
6:47, and we're going through the papers with the author Emma Wolfe and politics editor at HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Let's start with the Sunday Times, Kevin, looking at Iran and threats from Trump.
Yeah, I mean, we're only, a few days into 2026, and this is possibly the biggest story of the year, I think, is going to be what we're witnessing unfolding. Well, if it falls, I mean, it's just remarkable. There's an internet blackout, obviously, so the footage coming out is limited, but these incredibly brave protesters out in the streets risking their lives because we know that the regime is ordering its security forces to open fire on protesters. And as you say, Donald Trump has warned the Ayatollah that they will not stand for it. America is ready. Now, again, with Donald Trump, the details are a little bit vague. He's not talking about sending troops in to Iran, but he says, you know, they're locked and loaded, they're ready to step in if innocent people are being targeted by the regime. So we'll see how that turns out, possible escalation of the situation. However...
But you would imagine, actually, that there are plenty of...
Already there.
Just trying to destabilise everything.
Exactly, and it would appear doing a pretty good job of it thus far. And it looks as though, you know, we don't know, and obviously there's a long way to go yet, I suppose, that the regime could be on the brink. I mean, we saw that incredible footage yesterday of the man at the embassy in London. I mean, climbing up onto the balcony at the Iranian embassy.
Which is really odd when you look back, you know, historically how we view those balconies.
Well, absolutely, of course. Yvonne Fletcher, wasn't it, a way back in the 1980s? And, I mean, that was just a real striking image of ripping down the flag and flying the Iranian flag. So yeah, it is... I mean, we tend to be a little bit hyperbolic, I suppose, as journalists, but you know, this is history in the making, potentially. You know, the revolution of 1979 could be coming to an end.
One protester was asked, must have got out on social media somehow, she was protesting in the street, very bravely, and I think a reporter or somebody asked her, why are you risking your life? And she said, I don't care if I die now, I've been dead for the last 30 years.
Yeah, exactly, and this is the biggest uprising, isn't it, since the 1979 revolution. It's astonishing, the eyewitness accounts that are coming out. You know, the idea of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard hunting through hospitals, warning medics not to treat the wounded and the injured, hunting down people, calling the protesters terrorists. And also, it's astonishing when you think about the scope of what the US is involved in at the moment, across the world. The idea that, well, obviously they have covert ops in Iran already, but, you know, what they've just achieved, what Trump has just achieved in Venezuela, you know, across the world, he's juggling a lot. I think, for me, the big question is, what happens if the Ayatollah is toppled, if he dies, he's 86 years old, what comes next? Because there isn't an obvious anybody to step in to fill that gap. And there could be a really, really dangerous and interesting vacuum there, power vacuum.
We've been here before, haven't we, with Iraq, you know, the fall of Saddam, in Libya. It's great when these dictators, brutal dictators, are toppled, but
then what?
You don't know what's
Well, isn't it somebody
next.
in Trump's administration, I think it's his administration, said, we're very good at war, but we're not good at peace.
Which is true.
He's not a details man.
Well, yeah, and it's the exit strategy, isn't it, that...
Yeah, although
surely they work out at the same time.
But I mean, the interesting thing is that the Shah is America-based.
Yeah.
And although, you know...
His son.
Far from ideal, but he's talking about a constitutional monarchy, which would mean there would have to be elections. But if he's got there, no, Trump hasn't come outright and supported him yet.
No.
But if he did, if there was, then at least that would allow the way for somewhere like America and others to go in and help rebuild and restructure.
It's going to take a lot of time, and they don't have a history of democracy now, do they? They've had 3 decades of submission.
Well, yeah.
Dictatorship.
But it was the way that the previous Shah was running the country that actually caused...
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the Shah's own family hasn't exactly got the best reputation.
No, that's true. And it is just incredible that Trump, you know, who was brought in on a wave of America first, now, sort of, we're only 2 weeks into January, he's involved in Venezuela, he's talking about wanting to run Greenland and now having to get involved in Iran as well. I mean, it's just absolutely astonishing what we're witnessing.
Let's have a look, because we were talking about this a little bit later on, Emma, as well, in the Sunday Express. The NASUWT, which is a very big teaching union is now piling on this ban on social media for the under-16s.
Good. I mean, I've banged on about it forever, but, you know, the Australia ban came in a few weeks ago. We'll see how that plays out, how it's actually how it's helping young people, children and young people, and how effective it is.
I saw a report only this morning from someone, a young person down there saying, I now feel free.
Yeah. And the relief that they feel not being shackled to these devices because it's not allowed. But I think it's incredibly serious. I think it's incredibly important that unions like the NASUWT and the government, for goodness sake, they're talking about grok. You know, let's get serious about the internet itself. For young people, we know it affects mental health, concentration, their learning, damages, I should say, not effects, but their interaction with other people, the fact that they're locked in a room, trapped in their room staring at smartphones, they're not outside, they're not, you know, increases anxiety, ADHD, depression, all of that. I think we will look back on this time as very, very damaging to children and young people, what has been done. And I hope that we will look back and think that was madness, that children... I mean, I see children as young as 5 and 6 going to my son's school with the phone on the pram, sort of, you know, locked onto the pram thingy on a phone holder. You know, that is insane. Children are not even looking at the outside world. They're not even interacting that way. They're not running around. It's so damaging and dangerous, physically and mentally.
Well, that is the challenge, isn't it? It just feel though as if it's like an idea whose time has come almost. And you're right. We've got the real life experience of Australia, and we'll be able to watch how it pans out there. And if it's a success there, then you can see it absolutely going across other parts of the world. And it may well be that we look back in 30, 40 years' time in the way that we now look back on smoking back in the 50s and 60s when you had adverts on the TV talking about the health benefits of smoking, and it was never even debated as to the potential negative impacts. And you think, well, that's incredible.
I saw footage of the King's Cross fire the other day, and I was thinking people were smoking on the underground. You know, it is possible to have total social change.
All right, you two. We'll see you a little bit later on. Thank you very much indeed.
Let's catch up with the weather now. Here's Greg.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain, thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK, driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north, and slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK, perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bowl. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. Crisis continues in the Middle East as Iran warns Washington it will retaliate to any attack by treating Israel and US military bases as legitimate targets.
It comes as videos online continue to show protesters marching through Tehran, chanting lines such as "Death to the dictator" and "Long live the Shah."
Well, here in Britain, an Iranian man tore down Iran's national flag on the embassy building in London and then held up a pre-regime Iranian flag during a demonstration.
Elsewhere, could British troops be sent to Greenland? The Prime Minister is currently in talks with European allies as military chiefs are apparently drawing up plans for a possible NATO mission to the country.
The Conservatives say they'd ban under-16s from social media platforms if they were in power, promising to follow the example of Australia.
And The Apprentice star Thomas Skinner is championing men's mental health with the Sunday Walking Club, allowing a relaxed and judgment-free space for men to open the conversation and connect with others. We'll be live at that walk a bit later on in the programme.
It was perhaps the greatest FA Cup shock of all time. Macclesfield Town of the National League North, managed by the brother of Wayne Rooney, dumped Crystal Palace, the holders, out of the competition at Moss Road. It was the first time the holders have been knocked out by a non-league club since 1908.
Hello there. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy snow, downpours of rain, some strong and gusty winds across the UK as well. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm just busy. Would you believe it? We keep saying to you, get in touch via your say. I can't get into it.
I don't understand why not.
I don't know why. It's just not working. My computer's not very well, I don't think. But you've got it all right.
It.
I
My
don't know
computer's
why.
much older than yours.
Yes.
Get a new computer.
I would like a new computer.
He likes a new... You
love
like
a
the
gadget,
gadgets. I'm
don't you?
surprised you haven't bought yourself a new one already.
Well, I want a week.
Money.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be a problem when you're looking at
gadgets,
watches and...
No, well, I look at
That's
them.
a gadget.
I do look at them a lot, but I very, very rarely buy anything.
You didn't see anything in the sales?
Yeah.
You didn't see anything in the sales that you like?
No.
Are there sales anymore?
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Sales are mostly...
they're all year round.
Black
But...
Friday and stuff, don't they? Before
Yeah.
Christmas now.
Yes,
you don't get
true.
the New Year sales that you used to.
No.
See, I'm a true northern. I'm very, very good at window shopping. But that's as far as it goes.
Yes, I like window shopping.
Anything interesting coming on?
Yeah. Jane says, good afternoon, Stephen and Anne,
yes, good
from
afternoon.
Australia. Regarding the under-16 social media ban in Australia, well, today reports are emerging that many teenagers' accounts remained active after the government's social media ban took effect, which was on December the 10th, while other under-16s have had no issue passing the service's requirements to open new accounts. So maybe it's not working quite as clockworky as we understand, but obviously we are looking to Australia and hopefully learning from them about that sort of thing. We'll be discussing it later in the programme.
Yeah, I mean, I do think with this, you're never going to be able to stop it completely 100% with this sort of power. But if it gets 50% of them off it or more, then surely that's got to be a good way to start.
And if it does, as we hear, the sort of young teenagers actually like being off it and not having to have the pressure of being on it all the time, then it might actually, be a rolling stone that gathers moss.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a fair point. Anyway,
thanks for getting in touch from Australia. It's nice to hear. If you're watching us from wherever in the world... Well, I was watching you from Cyprus before Christmas, and it's weird because Cyprus is two hours on, so I was always having to think, it's time to watch GB News, but it wasn't until another 2 hours or something, so it was
you could watch it from 6 o'clock then without having to get up too early.
Exactly.
Very good.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. So if you're watching from wherever in the world, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much.
We would, and I'll try and log in so I can look at it too. Now, Iran has warned Washington it's going to retaliate to any attack by treating Israel and US military bases as legitimate targets.
Well, I guess they would make those threats, wouldn't they? There are lots of reports emerging now that his administration is discussing how to carry out a military strike on the country, and former CIA officials are warning that the president could greenlight covert operations to destabilise the regime. Probably is already.
Yeah, the protests here in the UK as well. The Iranian flag was torn down by protesters at the embassy in London. They then replaced it with a pre-Islamic Revolution lion and sun flag.
Well, former chair of the Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood, joins us now. A very good morning to you, Mr. Ellwood. I just wonder what you think when you wake up every morning now, and it seems that our world is changing around us. What are your thoughts on what's happened overnight?
Well, good morning. I think that's actually a very sober but important place to start. This is a turbulent world. We're dealing with new challenges and developments, but what we're seeing on our screens today reminds us that we have some serious old ones that still are there. After 2 weeks of protests here, there is a strong belief that this regime, after 45 years, might now topple. This is the biggest show of dissent since the disputed outcome of presidential elections back in 2009. There's been other national uprisings and democracy and demonstrations, but every time the regime has come out with absolute force to crush them. But this does feel on a different scale. The difference is the sheer economic hardship that is caused by sanctions. That's affecting all of society. Corruption is rife, hardship for ordinary people. But the elites, the powerful, don't seem to be affected. They look after themselves. Then you have Khomeini's, the supreme leader's unpopularity himself. He's poorly, he's getting older. People have been waiting for him to die. And then finally, the regime's authority, its legitimacy was hit after those US-Israeli strikes last year. So there is this movement saying we absolutely want change. The question is what happens next, and there's talk about this the son of the Shah returning. I think that's very, very unlikely. There is no national coordination between all those that are angry, and the caution is that the most powerful body that remains is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, which is enormous and owns much of society, much of the economy, and they are likely to come down and react very, very hard indeed. So we'd end up possibly seeing an autocratic theocracy replaced by a military dictatorship.
I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, and it begs the question. I mean, Trump's threats, people will take them in different ways, but it does beg the question: if the regime fell, is that the time the international community, and no doubt led by the United States, would have to go in to try and stabilise the region?
Well, this is the big question, and it's worth some consideration, because I don't think Trump even understands the history here of what America and indeed Britain did that took Iran to the revolution in '79 in the first place. We empowered the Shah to the point where he became so unpopular that there was a revolution that brought in this religious guard. Back in 1953, we got rid of a prime minister through Operation Boot, a CIA MI6 operation to get rid of a prime minister because he looked like he was getting too close to Moscow. So we have history in this country, and they haven't forgot that. So I think we need to air caution on simply charging in, thinking we're going to help, when actually we could be compounding matters. But you're right to ask the question, what can we do? Because it could flare up and destabilize the rest of the Middle East. We need to be committed to it. We simply can't go in there, send in a few missiles, thinking that we're then going to see democracy develop. That isn't the case. This is a complex country that hasn't actually tasted democracy for absolutely decades, and we need to tread very, very carefully as to how this unfolds. As I say, the biggest challenge will be the Islamic Revolutionary Guard seizing some form of power.
I don't know if you've been able to see the front page of today's Observer yet, but it's a very dramatic front page, and it's basically saying, are we now living in a world without rules? We see so many things happening all over the world that you couldn't have predicted, really, a few months ago. Are you worried that everything is changing and that we are becoming, well, lawless?
I think that's the bigger question that I'm afraid we've been in denial. I've been saying we need to, from a defensive security perspective, invest more in our defense posture. I've even suggested bringing back the National Guard. The reason why is that very point that you've just made, that we've entered a new era of insecurity. We used to think it was China and Russia reinventing the world order that benefited them, but we need to wake up and see that America is actually going down a very different route, becoming more isolationist, economic nationalist, looking after its own. It's absolutely right that Europeans start sending troops and NATO assets to Greenland, for example, to try and put that particular fire out. But wider picture, we are seeing the Western ideology fragment. It was in a bad place anyway, but there's no effort to shore it up, to find an off-ramp to deal with how we're going to manage the advance and growth of China, which is challenging our world order. That's done a pretty good job since after the Second World War, even winning the Cold War for us. These are big, big questions. And because of the here and now, we're dealing with matters on a day-to-day basis. We just don't spend enough time looking and considering this bigger picture.
And look, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it came across to me then as if you were being sort of quite critical of Trump, and yet, isn't it fair to say, because we've had this, you know, the concerns over Russia, the rise of China, nothing much happening to quell it. I mean, he's flexing his muscles, isn't he? Isn't he sort of putting them on watch? Can we not view that as a positive thing?
It's a positive thing in the same way of taking Maduro out of Venezuela to say he's addressing those issues. But it's the manner of which he addresses those issues in a unilateral sense, because when you dig deeper, you realize it's not for the benefit of all. It's not that sense of duty that every American president has had since the Second World War, not only to look after America, but by America looking after other countries, we all end up benefiting. So when trade starts to break down, all countries then are going to suffer. When he then claims Greenland, he could easily put more troops there. America has reduced its troop numbers there. They have a treaty with Greenland. That means they can have as many troops as they like. They only have 200 there. So when J.D. Vance says, oh, Europe's not looking after Greenland's security interests, neither is America. They've dialed back. And that's the difficulty. This is our closest security ally. But I don't believe now that Trump has got America's long-term interests at heart. I think he's got his own survival and Republican interests at heart alone. But even then, I would say these aren't Republican. I could never see Reagan or Eisenhower going down the road, taking America where he wants to go if they were in charge today. So these are dangerous times, and we've been kowtowing to Trump. So many times we've said, come on, let's stand up to Putin, be with us, let's support Ukraine, and hoping that he would then wake up and recognize the bigger picture. But he's not. He's not interested in supporting that because he's given up Ukraine to Russia and now works in this world where we all have these spheres of influence for which America is clearly looking after its neck of the woods.
OK. Tobias Ellwood, as always, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes, I suppose elsewhere, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is reportedly in talks with European allies about deploying military personnel to Greenland to sort of guard the island for the US or against the US.
Well, yeah, is it the argument that if you do that, the US wouldn't need to then sort of take it over because it would be, as a strategic area, all sorted out? I don't know, it's very confusing. It follows recent threats from Trump, who said he's considering seizing the island for security reasons, despite Greenland saying they don't want to be American.
And it's understood that those plans would involve British soldiers or warships and or planes being deployed to protect Greenland from Russia and China.
Well, let's talk to former Special Advisor Charlie Rowley. Charlie, I mean, it's a very confusing picture because it almost seems to imply that, I mean, are we protecting it for the United States or are we protecting it from the United States?
Exactly. That is the question. I mean, I would like to think if we do get involved, it would be to hopefully benefit and appease in some way US and Trump's attempts to just go in and take over Greenland, where, as you say, Greenlanders don't want to be Americans. They are self-governing.
In your role as an advisor, have you ever witnessed a phone call between a Prime Minister, for instance, and a President? How do they speak to each other? I mean, would Sir Keir Starmer have picked up the phone and said, now, come on, Donald, we've really got to do something to avoid military action here? Or would he... I mean, how do they speak to each other?
So I think there are some conversations that will, be very private, but otherwise some of them are actually quite scripted. So you've got the points, lines to take in front of you. These are the points. You've only got a short amount of time, So these are the key points that you want to get across. This is what you actually want to try and say to the president. But when you're dealing with the president of the United States, I only know particularly from Theresa May's time, which was a completely different relationship. Yes. They didn't, I don't think, they didn't quite get on as socially or casually as what seems to be the Prime Minister does. He seems to have a relationship with Donald Trump. So I think he might be able to be slightly more candid as opposed to professional and diplomatic because Donald Trump will go off on his own tangent and he will say what he wants and he'll talk about all kinds of things. So it's very difficult to get through to Donald Trump unless it's something that will catch his eye and it will be in his interest, I think.
I just wonder, with all this on, we're talking about the potential of having troops in Ukraine as a peacekeeping force, if there is a deal, which is a very big if. We're now talking about potentially sending troops, ships and planes and all the rest of it to Greenland, potentially for whatever purpose that may be. But there's a £28 billion black hole in the armed forces budget, as we understand. That's how much they would need to spend to get us up to spec. We haven't got the troops, we haven't got the equipment, and the training takes a considerable amount of time. So is all this just living in fairyland?
Well, quite possibly. But I think, look, after Donald Trump in his first term wanted NATO to spend more money on defence, he wanted European countries to spend more money because he thought that America was basically policing the West. He was the only defence that we would have, or that's how he saw it. And the EU and European countries and NATO responded. The UK is committed to spending at least 2.5% of GDP on defence. That could go up, probably should go up. But you're absolutely right. When you are failing, arguably, in the polls, and there's a question around the US economy, which is why maybe Donald Trump is looking to those US midterms and looking for other events to talk about, whether it's the success, he would argue, in Venezuela. Rightly so, I thought that was a good decision, but obviously there's the fallout of that still needs to come to pass. He's intervened in Iran before. You remember those airstrikes in June of last year on nuclear targets in Iran. They've intervened in Syria. So he's got an international role. Keir Starmer, down in the polls, will want to, I think, point to other things, whether it's success in Ukraine, whether it's the coalition of the willing, whether it's committing troops there. He may want to look to Greenland to be a success story there.
But at the moment, it's all words, isn't it?
It is all words, exactly. And until... and look, the UK has been frozen out by Donald Trump at times. Donald Trump didn't tell the Prime Minister when he was intervening in Iran the last time. He didn't tell the Prime Minister...
about Venezuela.
So, there isn't that notification system that might have been in place previously, through the previous relationship, through previous Prime Ministers and Presidents of the United States. So, Donald Trump is a man of, action. He will intervene if he wants. But I think, it is... what you don't want to do, particularly in the UK and the US, is overstretch. You don't want to get distracted by the real issues. The threats that the US face will come from Russia and China. So Greenland is obviously in Donald Trump's sights. But if you are intervening in all these other countries like Syria, like Iran, still trying to deal with Ukraine, stopping all of these wars that the president likes to talk about, is that distracting from actually, the real threats that we face as the West?
Just briefly. One of the things Tobias Ellwood was saying, and it was a criticism of Trump, was to say he doesn't like the way he's acting unilaterally, but says Trump is very much focused on America first, and he's not paying the attention to the rest of the world that he should be, and the reliance the rest of the world has on the United States. Now, I think I have a lot of respect for Tobias Ellwood, but is that unreasonable for anyone to say, the President or Prime Minister of a country to say, well, everything I do is for my country and everybody else is secondary?
No, that's not really how people would act usually on the international stage. Politics is about diplomacy, but Donald Trump isn't a politician. He's a businessman, and it is about America first. But Donald Trump holds all the cards. He said it before. And he has the ability to turn up, to talk to leaders, particularly in the West, and say, you haven't upheld your end of the bargain for far too long. America has been funding NATO defence. It's been funding Western defences. We're now facing threats in America, particularly from Russia and China and other adversaries, including Iran. So we're going to have to do what we're going to have to do to, A, look after America as that world policing service that it's provided for so many years, but also, he would argue, that benefits the West as well.
Well, it undermines NATO, doesn't it?
It does undermine NATO, but Donald Trump has come into it thinking, well, all NATO's got from America is just more money. So, you know, in a way, he could quite legitimately argue. It's been very difficult to argue to the president to say, oh, hold on, we're taking Greenland because that will benefit the West in terms of your protection. So what are you moaning about?
All right, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. See you later.
Have to be a fly on the wall on those conversations, I must say.
None of it's as black and white as you first think. That's why you need to hear opinions that you don't necessarily agree with, because it just gives you a different insight into how people think. Anyway, gives me something to ponder throughout the day. You might want to ponder the weather. Here's Greg.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain, thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north. And slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK, perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Time for the Great British Giveaway now, and time is ticking on your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date, 85 grand in tax-free cash. Here's how to take part in the competition.
It's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, still to come, should the government ban social media for under 16? The teaching union, the NASUWT, says it needs to happen. We'll talk about that next.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The University of Bristol has been threatened with legal action by a leading academic who led a recent government review into sex and gender data collection.
Well, Professor Alice Sullivan claims her freedom of speech was restricted after a talk she gave was disrupted by a trans rights protest.
Protesters actually scaled the walls of the building. We were in a first-floor lecture theatre, and they climbed the walls in order to bang on the windows and sort of howl through the windows. It felt incredibly surreal in there. It was like some kind of zombie apocalypse. And they were setting off fire alarms to very loudly disrupt my talk. Eventually, we had to all move to another lecture theatre. And I learned afterwards that people trying to attend the talk had been severely disrupted by protesters who were not asked to stand behind barriers or anything like that. They were just allowed to intimidate and obstruct people who had come to hear me speak.
It sounds like a fairly severe dereliction of duty on behalf of the university. I mean, obviously everyone has a right to protest anything, and you'd think at a university anyone would have a right to give a talk, and yet there is this sort of heckler's veto that some try to play to try and keep out ideas with which they disagree. I mean, it seems to just go against the fundamental ethos of what higher education should be in this country.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I fully support people's right to peaceful protest, but this was not a peaceful protest. It was really quite violent.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
There does seem to be a growing problem with young people and social media. It's being recognised now, isn't it, really?
By the young people themselves.
Yeah, well, a lot of the time,
cases.
yes. But also, you know, you go into often shops, cafes, bars, pubs, and if you're served by anyone who's, you know, a teenager, late teenager, often you can tell they don't know how to interact with you, with customers, don't know how to put a smile on, you get grunted at. And it's not everyone, it's not all of them, but it happens a lot. It's noticeable now. Is social media the problem? Well, Conservatives say they would ban under-16s from social media platforms, promising to follow Australia.
Yeah, I know a lot of people at the moment are watching from Australia, so we'd love your comments on this, because it all comes as growing evidence suggests that unregulated access to social media is driving poorer behaviour at schools and hurting the mental health of young people.
Yeah, the mental development, really. Social skills. Social media seems to kill social skills. So what should we do? Let's talk to free speech campaigner Montgomery Toms. Montgomery, good to see you this morning. Look, I mean, I know there are issues around, you know, free speech, debate, all the rest of it, but social media we can see it is damaging, can't we?
Yeah, I don't doubt that social media has a negative impact as well as a positive impact, I must admit,
on young people, but I'm very uncomfortable about the state interfering so much in the role of essentially what a parent should do. I find it quite incredible that, for example, the Tory party, which is the party which is supposed to look towards the individual as taking power and responsibility for their lives, specifically parents taking responsibility for their children, should be interfering so much in whether children should have access to social media. Now, the other thing is the kind of the verification. And I know this might sound a bit maybe expansive, but I'm quite passionately against, for example, digital IDs and things like that. And it just begs the question, where does the verification process come from? I know they also want digital IDs, pushed in the direction of children and newborn babies. So I'm just concerned that in the climate that we live in, where free speech, as you mentioned, is massively kind of under attack, how this can be weaponized against young people. Call me kind of pessimistic, but I just feel like the individual should be at the heart of making these decisions, specifically parents, rather than the state and the education system.
Well, I mean, I'm staggered, and lots of people I speak to are, that, for instance, the state could get involved by simply saying it's not allowed in school. That at least hopefully gives many hours in the day where children are not exposed to social media. That would be a start, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I'm very pro homeschooling. I know when I have children, I don't even want my children in the state education because I'm 20 years old, and I can tell you when I was in the state education, there's so much that I am completely kind of resistant and reluctant to have my children be influenced by. So you could say, yeah, okay, so you don't have schools introduce kind of phones. And I had that when I was at school. We weren't allowed to use phones. Obviously, that wasn't brought in by law by the government. And it seems quite normal. But for me, it's kind of the principled aspect and the mission creep and the slippery slope and the trajectory of more banning, more legislation. We're seeing obviously recently with kind of X and Keir Starmer looking to get rid of X in the UK. These are all things that are really concerning. And this, for me, is just more of an opportunity to curtail free speech and use it as sort of a stepping stone in the direction of saying, oh, well, it worked really well for 16-year-olds, so how can we curtail speech for older people? Because we've seen how effective it's been. I
suppose the argument, though, Montgomery, is that it's not. You could argue it's not about curtailing the speech, is it? It's not what is going out from people. It's not what people are saying. It's what people are absorbing. And a lot of the problem seems to be things like Instagram, almost rather than Twitter or X, because it's about how people are viewing the world, how people are viewing other people.
Yeah, no, of course, and these are all valid concerns. But again, I might sound like a bit like a broken record, but I just am a traditional liberal in that sense, that I just don't feel like the state should be interfering in our lives so much.
No, but would you agree it's enough of a problem that parents should be intervening on it? Absolutely. Because I mean, if you do, it's acknowledging there's an issue. The problem seems to be that parents, for whatever reason, are not taking that step.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think parents need to be taking a much more proactive step towards looking after and safeguarding their children. I think it's because we live in a culture where parents offload a lot of responsibility over to the education system and looking towards the state rather than taking responsibility for their own children. And it begs the question, why should my right as a future parent to look after my child and make that decision for my child be curtailed because of other people's inability to just take basic proactive steps to protect their children from what's happening on social media? Why can't most kids just have an old school brick phone? That's what I had when I was a little boy. Didn't have access to kind of social media. That's all you really need. So you don't need access to Instagram. It's just the kind of principle of saying, why is the government, the state education constantly feeling they are in a position to meddle in our personal lives rather than give responsibility to the state? That's ultimately what the Conservative Party is built upon. The individual, power to the individual, power to the British citizen to make good decisions. And they're basically redacting that and saying, no, we're going to tell your children you can't have access to social media. I just don't think it's right on principle.
I mean, I think a lot of people would agree that, the state is beginning to get involved in things that we shouldn't need the state to get involved in. Things like teaching children how to brush their teeth, or use a knife and fork when they go to school. But the fact is that it's happening and that children are under immense pressure to join in the social media world. And if you actually, I don't know, if the state at least tried taking that from them and seeing how it went, wouldn't that be an experiment worth trying?
Again, I think that you could explore it fine. I think it would be a slippery slope and more kind of authoritarian. But I come maybe from quite a hyper freedom focused aspect, because I've been so I not to go at too much of a tangent, because of course we've got limited time, but looking at kind of the COVID days and lockdowns and what happened in state education then, I massively was opposed to how young people were treated. I just don't trust that kind of interference. What I wouldn't be opposed to is kind of the government and also the general public, and also like news outlets like GB News, raising awareness about this so parents are more informed. But I just feel like that's a bit of a lazy excuse to say that parents don't realise the effect of social media. Social media has been around now for a very long time, long enough for people to realise the effects and what's happening. So it's down to the parents to make that decision and protect their children. But if the government wants to offer kind of like public guidance and just say, well, this is what's happening, then I don't have an issue with that. But turning around and bringing through bills and legislation constantly, it just feels relentless. We need to regulate more and more and more and more. But one thing I don't deny is I'm not going to be so ignorant to say that children aren't vulnerable and that we shouldn't have some kind of influence and safeguarding positions. But I just think it needs to come from the parents and not from the state. I know it may not sound. It may sound like, as I say, like a broken record, but fundamentally, I'm very, very nervous about the intentions and the slippery slope behind how the government can push things in the light of the kind of past 5 years, attacks on free speech, attacks on young people in the education system, Online Safety Act, and all of these things. I'm just hyper nervous.
Okay. Montgomery, really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. He makes some really interesting
We've got
points.
a comment from Australia again. Matthew has been in touch. I'm an Australian here. While I support the ban that they have in Australia, I don't think it's been executed properly. I have been at train stations and bus stops here in Sydney, and young people who are clearly under 16 are still scrolling through the TikTok videos, talking to their mates about messages they've just received on Snapchat, etc. The federal government isn't likely to impose these $1 million fines because it would offend Donald Trump, which would mean tariffs.
It's interesting.
Another one says, so many parents don't look after their kids. Once born, they couldn't care less. They're all too busy on their social media gadgets.
I do think that is an issue, that parents are not doing enough these days. And one thing I would say, Montgomery was saying, it's been around for years now, so we know what the impact is. I think the difference is this is the first time we're seeing the impact on children who've had it their whole lives.
Yes.
That's the difference. It's very different for someone who's been born with it than someone like us, who it just came in when we were fully grown, as it were. Anyway, let us know what you think. It's interesting. You made some good points.
Yeah, thank you for getting in touch from all over the world. We're even being watched in Tahiti this morning.
Tahiti.
How lovely.
Very nice. Have a cocktail on us. Still to come, everyone's talking about Macclesfield, but what else happened in the FA Cup yesterday? We'll find out from Aidan in a moment.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Do you trust what you're being told?
Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Rooney.
Rooney indeed, but not the one you're thinking of.
Just a different one.
A different one, John. I remember him playing, actually, about 15 years ago, coming through. Never really heard from him much since, but here he is as the manager of Macclesfield Town.
Which hardly seems like a great title, does it, with all due respect?
No.
Until yesterday.
No, exactly. What extraordinary result. Now, just to put it in context, Crystal Palace, the holders of the FA Cup, they won it to great fanfare last May against Manchester City. The winner scored by Berriese, who went on to get that move to Arsenal off the back of it for £65 million or whatever it was, plus add-ons. And then Crystal Palace go there yesterday to Macclesfield. Quite a kind draw. All right, it can be a bit slippery, that kind of thing, but you're not expected to lose it. And then they go there, they're 2-0 down in the second half. They only scored in the 90th minute with a free kick. But even after then, they didn't really threaten to equalise. And they were bundled out of the FA Cup. The first time the holders have been knocked out by a non-league club since 1908, and that was when Wolves were beaten by Crystal Palace, who were the non-league team that day, which is quite extraordinary. 117 places between the two clubs before the start of play yesterday. Macclesfield aren't even they're not even in the division below the top four divisions, the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. They're in the division below that, which is regionalised. So it's even rare that they face a team from London.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've had some league pedigree maybe 20, 30 years ago. Back in the 90s, they got up to as high as League One under Sammy McElroy, but that was a long time ago. And they were actually wound up during COVID back in 2020. This guy, Rob Smethurst, went and bought their minimal assets and brought them up through the leagues. But having said that, they're only 14th in the table. They're not exactly pulling up trees despite their promotions in recent times. And John Rooney didn't have much of a pedigree as a coach. We sat here yesterday and he was saying this would be a bigger achievement than my brother Wayne winning it with Manchester United in 2016.
I was just thinking about how proud his mum and dad would be.
Oh, without doubt.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah, exactly.
Because Wayne has always been the big star.
They all live in Macclesfield as well.
Oh, do they?
They do, yeah. Wayne moved there when he's very young.
Oh, you see, the parents would be proud of both of their sons, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
And suddenly the one son has now got his moment.
Well,
That's nice, isn't it?
If you look at the side as well, there was a Love Islander in there. There was a boxing champion.
Yes.
There's a few people with trades as well.
Any footballers?
Yeah, there were. Well, this is it. There's a fine line. There's a fine line. We're shocked by these results, and yes, rightly so. But there was a player in there yesterday who was part of England's under-19 squad, which won the Euros back in 2017. So he was at Man City at the time, so he must have had some huge reputation. Yeah. And sometimes it's just, as I say, it can be a bit of bad luck. It can be an injury at the wrong time that moves these players down. But he played alongside Aaron Ramsdale, Reece James, Mason Mount, people like that. So there was some quality in there as well. And the way they played, Stephen, they banked up, they defended well, they didn't look in any particular danger throughout the match. It's caused a meltdown at Crystal Palace because they've now lost. They're now unbeaten. They're not won in 9 games, and their manager is at loggerheads with the board. And this is after having such a positive 2025. So the draw, in answer to your question last hour, is on Monday. Their owner, Rob Smethurst, said that he, as a Man United fan, he'd like to get a trip to Old Trafford. So that's the dream. And if they get a trip to Old Trafford, then the gate receipts from that, Stephen, and any TV receipts are split 50-50.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
That'd be
so
huge, then.
It's actually more lucrative to be drawn away from home in these competitions. In fact, there was a case, I think Exeter over the weekend, who lost against Manchester City yesterday, 10-1, actually requested, because they're a fan-owned club, that City give a higher share of their gate receipts to Exeter just as an act of kindness. I don't know if they're going through with it or not, but nonetheless, Exeter lost 10-1 yesterday, so...
Oh. Gosh.
I know.
I was just looking at it. Apparently Wayne Rooney was at the match.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commentating.
Yeah, he was. He was on the pitch, I know. He says he's very proud of his brother.
Oh, I think that's lovely.
That's
what a
really
lovely
nice.
family moment.
Oh, dear. Right, we are out of time now.
You love family
sadly.
moments, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Love a family moment.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. All right, Aidan, see you later. We've got the papers in a moment with Kevin and with Emma, so don't go anywhere. But first, here's a European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It's nice and calm across the Canary Islands at the moment. Plenty of winter sunshine, but cold across parts of Italy. So you can see plenty of sunshine into Monday across Tenerife there. Madeira seeing some sunny spells. A band of rain across northern parts of Portugal and Spain stretching into France. But pleasant conditions across Italy. But cold across Greece into Turkey. A weather system clearing here, but a frost at night time. Slowly warming up over the next few days there.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think that many problems that Luton has, I think many parts of the country are suffering from those problems. Okay. But I think there are some good aspects to living in Luton as well.
But Raki, we have to address the elephant in the room in a sense, and that is Luton an example of a failed multicultural town? What I mean by that is we have 54.8% of the population is non-white, the largest being minority ethnic group Asian, and we do see, you live there, cultures living side by side, and there's a lack of integration. Is that a problem?
No, I think there's definitely integration challenges which need to be addressed in Luton. Now, when I was a lot younger, there were significant social tensions in Luton. We saw the Islamist Butchers of Basra demonstrations and then the subsequent creation of the English Defence League, the EDL. But I have to say, even though we have those integration challenges, if you look in other parts of the country, there have been significant forms of civil unrest which Luton has not experienced. If you remember the 2011 summer riots that took place across England, there weren't many incidents in Luton. And if you want to talk about ethnic and religious segregation, I think that Leicester has far bigger problems than Luton. So I think that while Luton has its issues surrounding integration and segregation, I think that some of those problems are even more intense in other parts of the country.
We can't finish this conversation without noting, of course, the entrance to the away end at Luton Town Stadium there. Of course, that is an entrance which goes through someone's house. It's so bad, it's good. In fact, away fans who go there say it's a good away day. It's something that they will always remember.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Hello there. We're looking through the newspapers with Emma Wolfe and Kevin Schofield, of course. What are we going to go for? Let's talk about Andy Burnham.
Must we?
I mean, how much of a threat is he? What's he planning now?
Well, according to The Sun, so this rumour's been floating around for a while, a long while, that Andy Burnham wants to come back. Well, he does want to come back. He's currently Mayor of Manchester. He'd like to be Prime Minister, but he needs to be a MP first, obviously. Yeah. So the strong rumour swirling in Westminster is that he wants to come back, stand in a by-election, probably in May, in time of the local elections, and then afterwards he's in a position to challenge if Keir Starmer is under pressure. Now, according to The Sun, the deal has been done. The Labour MP, well, former Labour MP, currently independent because he's lost the whip, Andrew Gwynn, is probably going to be leaving Parliament. He has a seat in the North West, Andy Burnham's manor, and the suggestion is that Andy Burnham would then stand for Labour in the resultant by-election, win the seat, he hopes, and then become an MP again. But there's so many imponderables. There's a denial from Andrew Gwynn in the story, first of all, so that's one thing. Two, would he even win the seat?
Well, exactly.
Right now, you look at the opinion polls.
I mean, you'd have to look at it and say, is this a Labour stronghold? And even if it is, would they want Andy Burnham, or would Labour run somebody else?
Well, that's the other thing. Would number 10 say, hang on a minute, we don't want Andy Burnham being the Labour candidate, thanks very much, because he's going to come in and try and steal Keir Starmer's job? Now, I think that would be a sign of weakness, really, if Keir Starmer was to try and block him. That would look like he was frightened. But it's probably in his gift to be able to do that. I
just think so.
So there is that as well.
Keir Starmer, Frit. Keir Starmer, never.
Perish the thought.
If Reform UK targeted that seat, would they stand a chance of preventing
I think they would. Absolutely.
This story is literally like, you know, the diet starts tomorrow. How many times have we sat here and talked about Andy Burnham, who wants to run as leader, who's going to get this seat as an MP? Certainly for a few months he's been saying this. Just get on and do it, you know, if he's going to do it. But there are so many imponderables, aren't there?
Also, he's run twice before to be Labour leader and lost twice.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that. I mean,
and this thing about King of the North, you know, when you actually talk to people from up north, not everybody thinks he's... Well, not everybody thinks he's...
like that.
Well, no, but it's a joke. Like, down here we think, oh, he's King of the North. People up north aren't all in love with...
Well, they all be, but he keeps winning the elections.
Andy Burnham. Yeah, I know, but I think you can overstate it, you know.
So does,
well done, Metropolitan Mayor.
Doesn't he? Well, that's true. And the thing is, well, there would be other candidates to be Labour leaders. Well, West Streeting would definitely go for it. Angela Rayner, I think, would want to go for it. So, again, that's another hurdle for Andy Burnham.
Ed Miliband.
Do you remember what Andrew Gwynn did?
Ed Miliband,
David
Miliband. Well, he's another one that's not an MP.
Well, exactly, but looking for a safe seat.
Would
he be left enough? Probably not now for the party.
Ed Miliband?
No, David.
Oh, no. Yeah, David's an arch Blairite, isn't he?
Yeah.
He would,
anyway, can we have a look?
Yes.
Here we are. It's in the Mail on Sunday. The Fat Jab Christmas, Emma.
Yeah, this is the Ozempic effect, where people who are reduced appetites because of taking their weight loss jabs, which, by the way, is now going to be available. It's just been launched in the US as a daily pill. Prices dropping, prices coming right down. So things like Wegovy and Ozempic, Mounjaro, I'm not sure about Mounjaro, are going to be, they're being released by Novo Nordisk, huge pharmaceutical company, as a daily pill instead of this sort of weekly jab or whatever people are doing with it. But apparently this Christmas, you wouldn't think that you would be saying this, but it was a skinnier Christmas. It was a sort of first fat jab Christmas. People were buying less food and less quantities. So it's interesting, M&S are sort of rolling out these kind of nutrient-dense ranges where they're doing tiny little ready meals, but very high in protein and carbs and all the things you need, so that people aren't just eating the same old junk, but in smaller quantities. So they're focusing on the kind of nutritional quality. And even Greggs, the king of the sausage rolls, are saying that people want smaller quantities. I'm not buying it. I don't actually believe that people are buying smaller quantities until we actually see Britain getting slimmer. But apparently this had a real effect on retail sales over Christmas, with the sort of weight loss.
And on booze as well.
And on booze as well. People cutting right down on booze. I think that's another side effect. And we've talked about 0%, zero Guinness, that kind of other things are available. But zero alcohol drinks, which are definitely on the rise.
Restaurants have said before as well, haven't they, because of these jabs, that people are eating less, so they're having to put on sort of smaller portion
they don't
options.
Charge less for it.
No, they don't, because they claim that they are nutrient rich.
Give them a doggy bag. But I mean, this affected America as well. People's supermarkets, which is astonishing because that's always been the home of, you know, real obesity in these vast supermarkets and huge
portions in America.
Portion sizes.
We were there last summer.
Bigger than dinner, kind of dustbin lids.
Extraordinary. And people are just expected to take a doggy bag home with them. It's not. Here we're a bit embarrassed about asking for a doggy bag. There it's just like, there you go.
Normal.
Just shovel it all in
a box.
Away, because you're not expected to finish
Funnily
it.
enough, it's never as nice when you get it home and it's been in the fridge for half the day.
Oh, a pizza cold the next morning after a hangover. Back in the day.
Cold pizza's nice.
Cold pizza, cold Chinese.
To dip it in the crust. Yeah.
Some things marinate, you know, Chinese, cold Chinese.
Oh, really? I've never had that.
Yeah. I mean, this is distant memories when I had a...
Really?
Next day curry, yeah.
I don't think I could face that.
I mean, you ought to warm it up, obviously. I wouldn't have it cold, but...
No, that is nice. When you order a Chinese, order a bit too much and keep it.
Yeah, it's lunch for your lunch the next day. It's great.
And kid yourself, you're really sort of doing yourself good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Saving money.
It's what I always wonder with. I was looking at the clock because we're running out of time. It's stuff like with these people getting these Uber Eats and stuff delivered or whatever, Deliveroo.
It's
and all
too
that.
handy.
But is it too cold? It just turn up cold.
It can. If they've had to make one or two other drop-offs on the way to your house,
I suppose you shove it in the microwave now.
I suppose you do, yeah. All right, you two.
Or the air fryer.
Or the air fryer, I know your favourite tool. All right, you two, thank you. See you later.
OK, now we'll be back with you in just a couple of moments with the top stories.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Crisis continues in the Middle East as Iran warns Washington it will retaliate to any attack by treating Israel and US military bases as legitimate targets.
Iran's police chief says the level of confrontation with rioters has been stepped up, with videos online continuing to show protesters marching through Tehran, chanting lines such as "Death to the dictator" and "Long live the Shah."
Well, here in Britain, an Iranian was seen on the balcony of the Iran's embassy in London, tearing down the flag and replacing it with a original flag from pre-79.
Meanwhile, could British troops be sent to Greenland? The Prime Minister is apparently currently in talks with European allies as military chiefs are drawing up plans for a possible NATO mission to the country.
Now, drivers across England are going to be able to see how well your local authority is doing when it comes to potholes. There's going to be a new traffic light system. Will it make any difference?
And The Apprentice star Thomas Skinner is championing men's mental health with a Sunday walking club, allowing a relaxed and judgment-free space for men to open up the conversations with others and connect. We'll be live at the walk in just a couple of moments, I think.
It was perhaps the greatest FA Cup shock of all time. Macclesfield of the National League North, managed by the brother of Wayne Rooney, dumped holders Crystal Palace out of the competition at Moss Rose. It was the first time the holders had been knocked out by a non-league club since 1908.
Hello there. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy snow, downpours of rain, some strong and gusty winds across the UK as well. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
But we're going to kick straight off with Thomas Skinner, you know, from The Apprentice and Strictly and all that sort of thing. And he's started this Sunday walking club, saying it's being healthy, good for your mental health, able to chat to other men about things that are bothering you or just have a natter.
The club meets apparently at an Essex pub at 8 o'clock every Sunday. So they should be meeting now. We've sent our reporter down there to see what it's all about.
Yes.
She's GB News reporter Bethany Elsey, and I think she's there. Bethany, a very good morning to you. What's going on?
Good morning to you both. Good morning to you both. Anne, you're absolutely right. Dozens of people have turned out here in Brentwood for this countryside walk to support men's mental health. It is, of course, all set up by the famous entrepreneur Thomas Skinner, who joins me now.
And my lovely mate Rob.
and
Rob.
and Rob Heisey, who is a therapist. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank
Thomas,
you.
why have you set up this event?
I just feel like, look, listen, like, us blokes don't talk to each other enough. We're always going to work, grafting, looking after the family, but we never talk about us, never look after us. And there ain't nothing out there really around this way for people to sit down, have a little chat, have a cup of tea, enjoy the countryside. Just blokes supporting blokes, that's all it's about, you know what I mean? Nice and early Sunday morning, before you do your bits and pieces, and we can relax.
And Thomas, it's the second event of its kind. The first was last Sunday. You had about 80 people turn out now. There's dozens more here today. It's a real sense of community here.
Yeah, do you know what's lovely is shaking everyone's hand so far this morning. People have come from all over, not just from around here. People come from Bethnal Green, people have come from Dartford. One guy's come from Canterbury. And obviously all the locals have turned up too. We've got just over 80 people. I think we're going to get more than 100 today. And look, hopefully it grows. The more the merrier, yeah? All we are, we just want to look after each other, put our arms around each other and have a nice walk and just say, you know what, it's all right.
And you know what, Thomas, this is a figure that we hear a lot in the news, that suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 50. Yeah. It's not a very nice statistic to hear. It still shocks me to the core. What do you think we can do to try and help that statistics decrease?
Look, it's really sad that is happening. I've lost 6 mates to suicide in the past 10 years, and I know how much it devastates families, lives. And look, blokes, we don't get enough talk. We don't talk about enough. So, if one person turns up here that's having it a bit hard, listen, let me tell you one thing. Tough times don't last, yeah, but tough people do. It might take a week, a month, a year, but just have a little chat with people. Just if you're feeling, you know, sad, you're feeling upset, you've got something on your mind, don't bottle it up and make you crack further down the line. just talk about it, relax and talk about it, yeah?
And Thomas, the walk starts here just outside the Thatcher's Arms behind us, and it'll end here as well. So we'll see you back here at 9:30 and chat to you some more.
Thank you very
and
much.
we'll just go over now to Rob Heiss, who's the unconscious mind therapist. Rob, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a brilliant turnout, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It was good last week, and we're just trying to create a nice space for people to come and talk to us, you know, because the human mind can only think how you feel. There's never been a human being in 2 million years while experiencing emotion of sadness can make it happy thoughts. Everyone's trying to work through their thoughts, but we have to change the emotion. So first of all, you've got to get your body in the right state. So that's what we're doing here. I'll do a little talk in a minute. We want to welcome as many people down as possible and create an environment that you do feel safe to talk in. Do you know what I mean? And get into people's minds and teach them that everything gets made twice. First inside the mind, then outside in reality, because people keep playing the old memories of the past. And what happens is then they're accessing the emotion to that memory, and then you start thinking chemically within the boundaries of how you feel. So we've got to create new biochemistry from through thoughts and through talking and through visualization. We can create that and we can make a better place. But it's an amazing turnout here today. A beautiful response, and you know, there's a lot of good guys in. It's all blokes helping blokes, as Tom always says. So it's a beautiful thing, and we appreciate, you know, you coming down and supporting. Thank you.
No, of course. Thank you for having us. And you know, it affects men of all ages. You've got young men here, men of an older generation, and as you say, talking about it really helps. But men are actually statistically far less likely to access talking therapies on the NHS, and far more likely to misuse drugs and alcohol. So talking about it is more important.
And this is a beautiful thing, because we're all geezers here. We're not like, you know, we're not like your average. I'm not like your average therapist, as you can tell from working class. And the guys here do feel safe, because like people like Tom, me, we're normal. We're just your average, we run-of-the-mill blokes. And I think you can see now we've got like guys from the local boxing gyms turning up. We have like Kevin Mitchell turns up with a few of his fighters. It's a great turnout and a great community. And the thing we've got to do is just try to help and change that emotion inside yourself and know that you're connected, because disconnection is the worst thing we can do. And we have to feel connected. And if you can feel connected, then you can open up in a safe place. And that's what we're trying to bring to the table.
Rob, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be here at the Thatcher's Arms chatting to everybody just after the walk from 9:30 onwards.
Lovely stuff, Bethany. Thank you very much indeed. Get yourself inside, get a hot drink while you wait. I think that's, do you know what? I think that's really inspiring, and partly because they're, as they say, they're just blokes. I mean, Tom Skinner may have been on the telly a bit, but they're still just a bloke. And
either he's very tall or Bethany's very short. I couldn't.
It's a mixture of both, I think.
Do you think so?
Bethany's not that tall, but I just think it's really, really positive. Get out there, have a natter, have a pint.
Well, it's a few obvious things, isn't it? It's
Really
good to connect with other people and to talk. And do you know that children do this as well? They're more open to talking about intimate, personal things if they're walking or if they're driving a car.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. If they're doing, in other words, if they're doing something else, not sitting down and sort of talking at each other. But apparently, a lot of parents say that if they really want their children to open up about what, you know, problems at school or anything like that, they do it during the drive in the car to and from school. Children are more likely to speak then.
I wonder if it's because they're not being looked at.
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think maybe some people just don't like that. They feel it's confrontational, or they've got to perform in some way. But if you're walking along and you're just talking about the countryside and you're coping with the weather and everything, you're more likely to open up. So, and just being out in the fresh air and the daylight is good for us too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a really good move.
I say all power to them. All power to them. And if you want to start something similar where you
Justin's
are,
just been in touch, says, as a veteran, I love what Thomas is doing for the walking club. I struggled with bipolar, PTSD and depression from after service. And to love your mates and have a chat and hug with another bloke, it's absolutely tops.
Yeah, good on you.
Great.
And for veterans as well, and serving people, there are a number of charities. There's Combat Stress, there's Heads Up, we've had on the show quite a lot. And again, it's just worth reaching out and just getting a bit of contact. But something like just going for an easy walk, why not?
Another one there.
Yeah, blokes supporting blokes, what an awesome story. Yeah, I agree. I just think it's real life as well, which is good, and what we're all about.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, there's a lot to get your head around this morning. Iran, dear me, well, it is kicking off there. Is it the end of the regime? It's hard to tell at this stage, but Iran is warning Washington it's going to retaliate to any attack by treating Israel and US military bases as a legitimate target.
Really scary pictures we're seeing there from Tehran, of protesters in the streets throwing firebombs. It's getting very violent and very nasty. The administration is discussing, the American administration, how to carry out a military strike on the country. Apparently, former CIA officials are warning that President Trump could greenlight covert operations to destabilise the regime.
There's stuff happening here in Britain too, more symbolic but important. The Iranian flag was torn down by a protester at the embassy in London, replaced with a pre-Islamic Revolution flag featuring a lion and the sun. I mean, that's hugely symbolic.
It is, and doesn't it remind you, if you were around at the time, of the Iranian embassy siege in 1980? Just seeing that balcony, with somebody standing there, it's just a terrifying image again. Joining us now, defence editor at the Evening Standard, Robert Fox. Your thoughts this morning? Too many to probably say.
Quite diverse. It is something that has to be followed almost hour by hour. A lot of the stuff is conjecture and rumour. The Wall Street Journal, for example, which really has an in on the discussions with Rubio, and Rubio, who, remember, is the National Security Advisor, as well as the Secretary of State.
I didn't realise.
Oh, yeah, and it takes very seriously. They considered all the options, and they are very keen, Washington, not to seem trigger-happy. And the riposte that we had, you just quoted, Anne, was from the police chief. What's happening is that they're mixing and matching the people who are talking about the crackdown. And it's too early to predict the end of the regime or the collapse. But it's all over the place there. They are absolutely desperate. And then you have orders to the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, to shoot, to kill. Unfortunately, minimum, I think, 50 people killed, probably hundreds by various calculations. We don't know, of course, because the internet is down. We are getting information because of Starlink, provided by Musk, but it is completely traceable, the nodes, where it's being launched from the Starlink signal. It's very interesting if you look up and down the Gulf. Al Jazeera, Qatar, not really in with the other big Arab powers who saying, no, it's all calm. They're parroting the line of the regime more than anybody else. And this is what makes it fascinating. By the way, if there is a retaliation, and they do seem to have a certain amount of kit left, missiles left, that's toast. Because the Israelis and the Americans will not put up with that. They'll obliterate what they left behind in mid-June in the 12-day war.
What do you make of this line saying, we could send in covert ops to destabilise the regime? I mean, I'd be surprised if that wasn't happening anyway.
I think the wish is the father of the thought, or whichever way it is. That's journo babble. I mean, if he or she who wrote that line stopped to think, they're there already. We know Mossad is there already. Military Unit 8200, who we don't talk about quite so much, but does a lot of the heavy lifting for the security services of Israel. They're pretty thoroughly penetrated. We know that, and that's why they're on a watching brief, because it is an enormous country. And nobody knows what comes after that.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I can't remember.
There is no replacement regime.
No.
We've got to be absolutely clear about that.
The son of the previous Shah, who's lived most of his life in America, of course. Is that realistic? I mean, would they accept that? Would they want that?
Well, there's
it was the previous Shah who caused a lot of the trouble.
Called Ahmad Chalabi, of course, who with the Iraqi National Congress, who assured everybody, including one Tony Blair and one George W. Bush, that he could take over, the army would come over. And as you rightly say, it was dust and ashes. And this is the thing that where you get the Colin Powell thing, if you break a thing, that you own it. And I think that the Trump administration really does understand that. It's got a very tricky situation, which and it's working out the management of in Venezuela. He's keen to pursue something with Greenland, and I don't think they've taken their eye off the ball with Ukraine, particularly as Putin now is so unpredictable. And when you've got so many things in motion now, you don't create another crisis. They've got a crisis. They know that because they've been bombing in Syria, because IS, the Islamic State, has been resurgent and more virulent than expected.
What about, I mean, we've been talking previously about, you know, if the regime did fall, would there have to be international support in some sense to go in? What about from regional powers locally? I mean, obviously you wouldn't want Iraq is a problem, but what about elsewhere? I mean, would they want to step in? Would they want to try to stabilise?
Well, there are powers, as you rightly say, with great interest, namely the Arab powers and Turkey. Above all, intervention, absolutely not. Turkey has got an interest because, of course, of the Kurdish minority, both in Iraq and in Iran. And it's terribly important because this is a thing where I think we're being a bit too broad brush in our headlines about this. It is quite a unitary state, but there are minorities. You will get an absolute full-blown insurgency, if there isn't one already, in the southeast, in Baluchistan, which affects Pakistan and the area of Baluchistan and Afghanistan, and it's desperately deprived by drought. That's where some climate event really is kicking in, as it is in many of the big cities in Iran. It's an absolutely wicked problem, this. And I think that this is, again, and I think there is a caution in the White House with Trump, don't get involved until the point where you really have to. The interesting posture in this is the posture of Britain, because Britain has an historic interest there. The approach there, I can say, I'm trying to be quite polite, has been callow, to put it mildly. You look at the travel advice on going to Iran. Don't go to Iran, yes, pretty obvious. And it's greater concern. There are reasons for this concern, but it isn't exclusively what it should be. He said people who are dual passport holders, Iranian and British, should be particularly aware. I mean, to say that they should be aware now after the thing that happened to Nazarene Radcliffe is particularly worrying. I know it's something you're going to come on to talk about with Charlie, but I've got to get my two pennyworth in. I mean, I think Britain's defence and security strategic posture is becoming increasingly absurd under Keir Starmer. Saying there are things that we're required to do, we're offering to do, possibly even Greenland, certainly Norway, but above all, Ukraine, and we're looking at a 28 billion cut. I thought they were going to increase the defence budget. It really is the ultimate contradiction in terms. I think it's probably the weakest link in a lot of the Starmer posture and policy. And our allies are not, including Donald J. Trump, are not going to thank us for it.
All right, Robert.
Well, we've got Charlie Rowley here, and domestically and from a political point of view, then, what Robert Fox was saying, it's and Nigel Farage has written in today's Mail on Sunday saying the talk is one thing, but actually, if you look behind all of that talk, militarily, we are pygmies in this game. Would you agree with what Nigel Farage has said? We are the UK has been reduced to the status of a pygmy.
I might not have put it in those terms, but I can understand where he's coming from. Because to Robert's point, you're absolutely right. You know, our defences haven't had the funding that they deserved. Every defence secretary has always asked for more money, rightly so, because of our defences have been depleted, and where there's been a lot of focus, I think, over the last few years on technology and drones and intelligence and all the rest of it, we've actually not had the boots on the ground. We haven't had the men and women in the uniform, which actually some wars now might require those boots to be available. If you're going to send troops to Greenland, for example, if that is required, if that's what the Prime Minister feels he needs to do to defend and NATO, but also Denmark, which obviously as a monarch, but it's a self-governing state in Greenland, but Denmark is effectively the arbiter there. If we're having boots on the ground in Ukraine, for example.
Have we got as many boots as are needed?
Well, we don't. And that's always been the problem over the last, decade, I would imagine, probably before. The cuts to the UK armed forces.
How
now
come
we're trying
you've been so blind? I mean, I remember
Well, it's
talking about
peace,
it.
though, isn't it? It's peacetime.
But we also talked 10, 15, 20 years ago, we talked about, there'll never be another war like this. It'll all be, you know, drones and computers and financial. We won't need boots on the ground anywhere in the future. We were complacent.
I think
Successive governments.
I think we were, and probably listened to our adversaries a bit more, thinking that Russia has all this technology, thinking that the Iranians have all this technology, that China has this technology. Not that anyone's suggesting we're going to go to war with China, but it is a rival and an adversary. But now we see that actually Russia doesn't have actually all of its capabilities that it has projected itself as to having. It's had to conscript its people to go and fight in that war in Ukraine, which is obviously, you know, it is still, fighting. It hasn't won. It has, made advances, but it is not winning in terms of the boots on the ground from their side of the fence. So we've got to be able to make sure that we have the army that we need in order to defend the UK, but also maybe our NATO allies and if we need to deploy troops somewhere, that we've got those capabilities.
What I find very disturbing is that we talked about complacency over the last few governments, last few decades, which I think is most people would agree with, the sort of peacetime problem that you get. Robert, I just heard you whisper, "We still are."
Oh, we're terribly complacent about it.
But
it's lawfare, not warfare. You talk about, you would talk in the corridors of Westminster. And Charlie knows this better than I. Oh, it's not a thing we really need to get involved in. What a commitment to an ally is. You've got to have credibility. You can't be hollow. Oh, well, peace man, and let's do a legal settlement. Well, look at the legal settlements that we have. I mean, inherited from the previous government, but the chaos over the Chagos Islands settlement, and of course. That is a Labour proclivity of using the defence budget as a piggy bank, of raiding it. Let's do it for this, even getting possibly to beef up the budget for the BBC World Service. Let's go to the defence budget. I mean, this is the thing. It doesn't happen. What I find so difficult, despite many young officers in all parties, now being, apart from the Greens, being in Parliament, that there's no clue about what is required. I don't care about the past, now and the future. And the future doesn't start in 2030, which they promised increasing the budget for in the Defence Review. The problem is now, and that's what we found in the North Atlantic.
But Charlie, Keir Starmer's every utterance, he seems to completely believe that a respect for international law is enough.
Absolutely.
Yes. And but that's his default as a former human rights, international human rights lawyer. But there has to be an element of politics involved, and you have to have a bit of decision making. So whether Keir Starmer, for example, not getting off the topic, but was very much against Rwanda. I would have thought a prime minister, and that's where I think Rishi Sunak fell down, is that you need to just make decisions and so get that plan off the ground. OK, it might cause some international consternation, but you can deal with that in the courts afterwards. You're not actually going to break any law if you've agreed with another country. But that aside is just one example. I think what the Prime Minister is doing is doing a lot of tours. He's been accused of never hear Keir on the international stage, because that's where I think he's gaining credibility. But I think, to Robert's point, exactly, in politics in general, look, spending on defence is hard if you're an individual. It's not a nice thing to do to want to say, right, we've got to spend more on defence because we're facing more threats in the world. Most Labour politicians, probably all politicians, will want to be looking at domestic issues like welfare, like housing, and all the rest of it. So it is a tough one, but we've got to face these challenges. But you've got to put your money where your mouth is. If you're going to increase spending on defence, or if you've got to put troops on the ground, you've got to have the money to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Charlie and Robert, thank you both very much indeed.
Right now, it's 8:23, just about to become 8:24. Time to catch up with the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain Thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north. And slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK, perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, so we talk money because there's 3 weeks, under 3 weeks now, in our latest Great British Giveaway, and it is our biggest cash prize to date, £85,000 in cold, hard, tax-free cash. Could be yours. Nice, eh?
I know, just it sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Yeah, it could be yours, but you've got to be in it to win it, so here's how.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh yes, have a try. Still to come, charities are saying the fallout from Christmas is putting more pressure on families. Our reporter will be telling us more next.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Look, this is winter. It's flu. Flu comes in winter. Sure as eggs is eggs. There's nothing particularly special about the virus. It has mutated, but that change has made it able to spread through the community by defeating our existing immunity. But the virus itself remains the same in terms of its clinical impact. So while it's a problem at a community and population level, lots of cases, for people who catch this, it's no worse than normal seasonal flu. It's not like we've got a supercharged flu that makes people much iller. We've got a virus that's spreading better and it's come earlier. So we're seeing it rising up the sort of infectious disease rates faster for this time of year. And there are a number of reasons for that, partly because it is a different virus, it's mutated. We haven't seen this particular strain spread for a couple of years. So population immunity levels are quite low. That's why it's
so what you said there, very calm, very rational, quite reassuring, to be honest with you, seems very logical, understandable. Earlier today, the BBC decided to do a report that looks a lot like this. Let's play the clip.
The throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we haven't got time to play it all, but she goes on to, like, you know, use the hand sanitizer. Again, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit fear-mongery.
Well, look, we must take flu seriously because it's a fact that if we tot up the excess mortality in the wintertime, just in the UK, and we attribute a lot of this excess mortality to flu, in an average year, maybe 5,000-6,000 people will lose their lives to flu. And in a bad year, it might be as high as 20,000. So we don't take this lightly. We're not complacent about flu.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 8:31 and the cost of living, well, we know it's still putting a lot of pressure on families, but charities are now saying the fallout from Christmas is pushing even more people into need.
In Bournemouth, a local food bank, which is called Hope for Food, is facing rising costs of its own now, just as demand surges in what's now their toughest time of the year.
Well, our reporter Isabel Feculat went down to their warehouse to find out more.
Christmas is a time of giving, but once the decorations come down, reality returns. This is Hope for Food, a charity that supports people across Bournemouth. From this warehouse, packages are assembled. They include food, clothes and toiletries, and for many, these boxes aren't extras, they're essentials, each one prepared by a team of volunteers.
So we do move in packs, so they are like kitchen equipment, so microwaves, toasters, basic plates, cutlery, that sort of thing, bedding. Now after Christmas we've done so many move-in packs that we are very short on a lot of these items. It's quite tricky. We can only give what we can give, which is not an ideal situation.
Hope for Food is more than just a food bank. It runs soup kitchens and delivers household essentials to those in need. But January, they say, is the toughest month of all.
It's very easy after the Christmas period and all the festivities to forget that actually people need to keep living and eating every week of the year.
4 years ago, this charity could provide a basic parcel for £10 to £15. Today, that same support costs up to £20. And it's not just the food. The rent of this unit will rise from £28,000 to £35,000 this year. Electricity bills, especially to run fridges, are climbing too. On top of that, thefts over the past 2 years have forced the charity to increase security, another cost they hadn't planned for.
Not only are there people struggling and therefore need help from the food bank, but other people are struggling as well, so they don't necessarily have the spare capacity. As far as our sustainability is concerned, if I was to think too deeply about that, I might have sleepless nights. And we just hope that we're going to be able to keep up with any demand that there is.
It's getting more difficult for this charity to provide support, just as the need is increasing. Isabel Fekulak, GB News, Bournemouth.
It's such a difficult time of year.
After Christmas is always hard, isn't it? But this time we've got this awful cold snap happening as well, and I think it's hitting some people very badly.
It is. I mean, it's getting to a point where even if you're desperately trying to keep the heating off, sometimes it just has to go on at the moment, which is obviously just an extra pressure that you don't need.
Let's switch to something really good news, and that's what happened to Macclesfield yesterday. Aidan will be here in just a couple of moments to tell us what an amazing story it was.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Aidan's here with the sport, 8:38, and we've got to kick off with Macclesfield.
Well, they certainly kicked off yesterday in a big way. They had a big tie, Crystal Palace at home, the holders, they're a non-league side, 2 divisions below the top 4 professional leagues. And boy, did they seize their moment, because, I mean, I just could not see how Crystal Palace were going to lose that game. We sat here yesterday. John Rooney was the quote in the paper, wasn't he, saying that it would be a bigger achievement beating Crystal Palace on a one-off game yesterday than it would his brother Wayne winning the FA Cup in 2016 with Man United against Crystal Palace, funnily enough. And I just thought, yeah, it's a nice thing to say, but there's no way it's going to happen. And then we watched the game, got wind of it. It's 2-0 in the second half. They won 2-1, but they were comfortable throughout. Palace didn't have any major chances. They didn't score until the 90th minute. And it was just an incredible day of FA Cup football. The magic of the Cup, that's what we talk about, the cliché. I'm usually one of the ones that says, well, you know what, the magic's dying off a little bit. The money dictates that it's not what it was. But tell that to the people of Macclesfield yesterday, because they produced a performance from the gods. They've had lots of tragedy this season as well. They lost one of their players just 3 weeks ago in a car crash, absolutely dreadful.
But his parents came along to the game.
They did, and they celebrated with the team afterwards, which I thought was absolutely wonderful.
It must have been an amazing moment for them, actually.
It is.
Everybody was in tears, apparently.
Oh, yeah, well, they would be. I mean, they've not really done much as a club. I mean, they actually folded in 2020 around the COVID time. The current club is technically, according to Company's House anyway, has been risen from the risen as a phoenix from the flames of the previous club. The previous club had some success in the 90s. They did get into the Football League. They got as far as the 3rd tier, which is 3 above what they're playing now, but it didn't last very long. And they went back down.
But to put it in context as well, I mean, a lot of their players are not full-time players.
No,
they
they're
do
not.
other jobs.
Love Islander, boxer, various other trades as well. There was one player who has some pedigree. He won the under-19s European Championship with England in 2017, playing alongside some big players. And he was contracted to Man City at the time, so he must have been considered an elite player at that time. And as I say, fine line between those who really make it big and those who just settle down below. And it can be a bit of luck. It can be a bit of an injury. But he scored yesterday, and he showed. He probably went on the pitch thinking, "I've got something to prove. It could have been me wearing the Crystal Palace shirt today." And not the guys who underperformed on the day. And it's caused a meltdown at Crystal Palace now, because having won, I mean, they're the holders. They won the FA Cup 7 months ago. It was the biggest day in their entire history. And for context as well, you mentioned that word context. It's so important here, because the last time the holders lost to a non-league club was 1908. And that was when Crystal Palace were the non-league team that day.
Crystal Palace were the non-league
team that day. That day.
So it's getting their own back.
Karma.
It's taken a bit of time. Yeah, Wolves beat them. So they beat Wolves that day.
And of course, and the manager of Macclesfield is John Rooney, who's Wayne's little brother.
He is. He's 35 years old. I remember him knocking around. I mean, it was a big thing, when Rooney was already in the guts of his career by then, but John was a few years behind him. But I was told that he wouldn't really get out of non-league, lower league football, and it was right. It was exactly what happened. But just because you're not the top elite footballer on the pitch doesn't mean you can't manage.
No.
But you know what? They're 14th in the league. They're not exactly pulling up trees.
And Wayne Rooney was commentating on the match.
Yes, he was, and he put his arm around his brother at the end.
Oh.
And they celebrated.
It had it all, didn't it?
It did. Well, that's what.
There'll be a movie made about that.
Well, you know what? There's loads of good FA Cup stories yesterday, but this was so big that it just swamped everything else.
Well, that's the thing. I tell you what, this is FA Cup at its best, because not only is that a good story, but then when you look at some of the other matches as well, I mean, was it Man City 10-1? 10-1?
They did,
I mean, blimey neck.
I know, exactly. Well, look, Macclesfield, we were hoping that their owner, or their chairman, Rob Smithurst, is hoping that, as a Man United fan, they get a trip to Old Trafford. And as I mentioned last hour, if you get an away trip against a big club, you get half of the gate receipts. So that really does make a big difference. And any TV receipts as well. If the BBC or anyone else decide to go and cover that game, there'll be a fee for that. And that will be split between the two clubs, irrespective of where it's played. But obviously, if you go to Man City or somewhere, or you go to Old Trafford, you're talking between 60 and 75,000
That's
people.
a lot of money to
Well, it keeps them going. It keeps them going for a few years, and that's what it's about.
I tell you, there'll be a movie about that. That's got
Yeah.
everything in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, probably will. Yeah, probably will. We don't get as many FA Cup stories as we used to, but that's one for the ages.
Who's playing today?
We've got several games, actually. I'm off to West Ham to watch QPR. I've just printed off my tickets there. I hope they're valid. I bought them from some company. I hope they get me in on the day, but I don't want to...
Take your woolly jumper.
Oh, I've got my long johns on the radiator.
Yeah. Oh, have you? On the radiator. Nice and warm when you put them on.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, that's the way. Perfect.
Man United are playing today. Chelsea played yesterday. And Liverpool are playing today as well.
Lovely. Brilliant stuff.
Good to see you this weekend.
And you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's nice to have a good news story, something to celebrate, isn't it?
Isn't it just? We'll see if there's anything to celebrate when we go through the papers with Emma Wolfe and Kevin Schofield in just a moment.
Yeah, if you are after some holiday sun, here's where to go for it.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It's nice and calm across the Canary Islands at the moment. Plenty of winter sunshine, but cold across parts of Italy. So you can see plenty of sunshine into Monday across Tenerife there. Madeira seeing some sunny spells. A band of rain across northern parts of Portugal and Spain stretching into France. But pleasant conditions across Italy. But cold across Greece into Turkey. A weather system clearing here, but a frost at night time. Slowly warming up over the next few days there.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The University of Bristol has been threatened with legal action by a leading academic who led a recent government review into sex and gender data collection.
Well, Professor Alice Sullivan claims her freedom of speech was restricted after a talk she gave was disrupted by a trans rights protest.
Protesters actually scaled the walls of the building. We were in a first-floor lecture theatre, and they climbed the walls in order to bang on the windows and sort of howl through the windows. It felt incredibly surreal in there. It was like some kind of zombie apocalypse.
What was it, Alice, that these students objected to? So you have recently led this government review, and all you've said, as far as I can see, very rightly, is that police should be recording and the NHS should be recording people's biological sex rather than their gender identity. And you have very good reason for saying that, which is that cancer referrals have been missed and crimes have been misrecorded because of this idea of gender identity. Is that really what these students object to, or have you said anything else that they might object to?
No, and it is extraordinary. I have literally argued that we should collect data on sex and we should also collect data on transgender identities as well. It's not a zero-sum game. We need accurate data on all groups in order to serve the needs and the human rights of all groups. It's all I've ever said. And I can only imagine that had these protesters actually come in and listened to my talk, they might have been surprised, because I really don't know what they thought I was saying. Obviously, from the perspective of someone outside the room banging on the window, they have no idea what I'm saying.
It's absolutely extraordinary. I mean, very good. This is why people need to come in and listen.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Well, we're going through the papers now with Emma and Kevin. What are we starting with?
What do you fancy? Go on, Emma.
Bit of royals
Oh, go on.
lift the spirits on this dark and worrying times. Well, a slightly lighter story at least. This is Meghan and Harry. Meghan has, the Duchess of Sussex, has not been back to the UK for 4 years, and we know this ongoing issue around the couple's security. It's not even completely confirmed whether Harry has got the security he's been looking for or not. There are conflicting stories out there about that, but it seems to be that ahead of the Invictus Games, which are happening in Birmingham in 2027, there will be events. Harry usually does run-up events. It looks like Meghan might be coming back with her husband to the UK. I don't know about the children, this summer, so July 2026.
This is such big news that it is the front page lead.
Front page of the Sun. Front page of the Sun. I mean, we know that Harry misses the UK. We know that he's keen to kind of build bridges and mend fences and all of the cliches with his family, and has been trying to do that. Meghan is a different thing. She has avoided the UK. She's very sensitive to criticism. She doesn't like being booed in public. Well, I can't imagine anyone would. Who would? But I mean, she's aware of the potentially hostile reaction that reception that she might get when you think about how they've left the royal family, how much love there is for the royal family and what they've done, and the interviews, the memoirs that's come out since. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether she does come back, whether the children, Lilibet and Archie, get to meet their grandfather and their family for the first time, or their British...
And it is alleged, isn't it, that Prince Harry has asked the King, or intends to ask the King, to open the Invictus Games.
I wonder, yeah, I mean, that's been trailed, obviously, but it puts the King in a really difficult...
It does, doesn't it?
Awkward position if he says no.
Not least with William as well, because we know that there's obviously no love lost.
And why is this coming out via the
Harry.
press? You know, surely this should be discussions private. Again, this should all be in private. And again, it's being done via the press, like the reconciliation.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
But yeah, it all hinges on whether they get the security, isn't it? Which is the crux of the matter.
And also, let's just not forget Harry's approach to security. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
On his last visit, I mean, he was seen wandering on Ring doorbells. He was wandering around Chelsea looking for something.
That was bizarre. That was bizarre.
He was looking for an old friend.
Looking for a friend. Where's the party? That kind of vibe about these pictures of him wandering around, you know, somewhere.
Imagine checking your Ring doorbell and Harry was on.
That's very odd.
It suggests really that he's that concerned about his own security.
Wow. Kevin, let's have a look at The Observer, should we? Because there's all this stuff about... I mean, I understand the concerns about Grok, which is the AI tool on X.
Yeah.
And some of the pictures you've been able to generate on it. But now this move to... which is being mooted about saying, well, the government needs to ban it altogether.
Yeah, I mean, this would obviously be an extreme step, and lots of free speech campaigners are saying this would be an outrage, and unsurprisingly, Elon Musk, who has a huge financial interest in it, is saying that this is a suppression of free speech. We know, obviously, that there's no love lost between Elon Musk and Keir Starmer's government, to put it mildly. And Musk has said they just want to suppress free speech. I mean, listen, I'm in favour of free speech. However, I think surely you've got to draw the line at sexualised images of children. I think that has to be beyond the pale, surely. And, you know, they've tried to compromise by saying, oh, well, this tool will only be available to subscribers. Well, so you pay to be able to produce
it doesn't make it right,
of children. That doesn't make it any better, in my opinion.
Kevin, the entire internet is awash with extreme and explicit and violent pornography and disturbing images of women. You know, this is not just Grok. This is such a weird targeting of X, basically, of Elon Musk. Why on earth would they go after Grok when there's a much, much bigger problem out there?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence of all forms, not just Grok, can do this. It can do this.
No, you're right. However, I think this is a mainstream platform used widely by young people, which is a wider debate, obviously, we were having earlier about social media for under-16s. I think the fact that it is so easy to misuse it in such a way, and it's actually been provided by X as a benefit almost, you know, Grok, the AI tool, and the fact that it can be used in such a way, I think if the government can do something to try and clamp down on that. Now, I'm not in favour, as I say, of banning stuff per se, but I just think when it comes to things like sexualised images, not just of kids, but of women against their without their consent, I just think it's beyond the pale. And if something can be done about it to try and stop it, then I think it should be.
I have to say, someone tweeted yesterday, someone put an X post about show me Emma Wolf naked, and I've never had that kind of post, and Grok didn't do it gladly, but it made me feel really alarmed. It made me feel really, and so I do have bit more
it's
of
so worrying.
an
It is so
understanding
worrying.
actually it must be really, really horrible. It isn't just, you know, silly porn videos that are made up and deep fakes and stuff. It is real, isn't it?
But it's a bit of a whack-a-mole situation as well. You shut it down there, you bet your bottom dollar it's going to pop up somewhere else as well. So it's a never-ending battle, really, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is the problem. I don't know what we do with... I mean, this whole social media, AI business, it's very, very useful if it's used in the right way. But how do you police it so people only use it in the way you allow them to use it?
Yeah.
Because, again, that's...
It's a minefield, and it's something that politicians are going to be grappling with for...
Ever.
Yeah, basically, because this is just the start of it, really. It's still a relatively new technology.
Ban the internet.
Yeah.
All right, you two. It's been a joy this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
You. Out you go into the cold. Talking of which, here's the weather forecast.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain Thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north. And slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK, perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, you're absolutely right. Spot on. I couldn't help feeling that perhaps it was actually just a joke, and they were going to come back in 2 years' time and say, we took you all in. It was, in fact, a joke. Now we're going to produce something more serious, because it is absolutely hilarious and ridiculous. Commercial suicide, I described it as.
Well, the individual behind it is no more. What would you like to see from the brand? Presumably not people with asymmetric haircuts in pink dresses with sledgehammers doing precisely zero to do with cars.
Well, again, absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, it's just totally unrelated to cars at all. There wasn't even a car in the advert. Jaguar was built on style, and that brought passion for cars. That's what made them different. I remember many years ago, a Jaguar executive in the States saying to me, people say, I like my Mercedes, but I love my Jaguar. It's all about passion. Style engendered that. That's what we've got to have. We need to see a proper, more traditional, stylish, real Jaguar that can build on the brand and heritage of the past.
OK, Philip Paulson, I'm going to put you on the spot now. If you're in charge of the next Jaguar advert, what would it look like?
As diametrically opposite and different as it possibly could be from what they produced. I suppose, I mean, I live a little in the past, I admit, although I also think I'm hopefully realistic about the current situation and everything, the present. But I'd like to see the heritage. shown. Jaguar were not afraid to talk in the past about their heritage. The Le Mans wins back in the 50s, the E-Type in the 60s. This is what added excitement and luster to the brand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country. Good morning. Crisis continues in the Middle East as it's confirmed 116 people in Iran have been killed since protests began 2 weeks ago.
Well, Iran's police chief has said that the level of confrontation with rioters has been stepped up. Videos online continuing to show protesters marching through Tehran, chanting lines such as "Death to the dictator" and "Long live the Shah."
Iran has also issued a warning to Washington that it will retaliate to any attack, treating Israel and US military bases as legitimate targets.
And that brings back a few memories of the Iranian embassy siege back in 1980, seeing somebody on the balcony like that. Anyway, that man was seen yesterday tearing down Iran's national flag at the embassy and replacing it with the pre-Islamic revolution lion and sun flag.
Also for you today, if there's not enough to think about, could British troops be sent to Greenland? The Prime Minister currently in talks with the European allies as military chiefs draw up plans for a possible NATO mission to the country.
And we'll be speaking to the boss of Wetherspoons, Sir Tim Martin, who has condemned what he calls the perverse taxes that have driven up the price of a pint. So are businesses like his now in trouble?
Also, drivers across England are going to be able to see just how well or how badly their local authority is tackling potholes. They're launching a new traffic light rating system. The irony. Will it make any difference?
Hello there. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy snow, downpours of rain, some strong and gusty winds across the UK as well. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, the latest we're getting on the situation in Iran this morning is that 116 people are now known to have been killed since the protests began 2 weeks ago.
Do you know, the more you see of the video of those protests, the more you think that death rate is going to go up. Iran has warned Washington that it will retaliate to any attack from the US by treating Israel and US military bases as legitimate targets.
Well, a lot of petrol bombs being thrown there, a huge amount of anger rising. And there are reports this morning that the Trump administration is discussing how to carry out a military strike on the country, with former CIA officials warning the president could greenlight covert operations to destabilise the regime. Experts, of course, saying, oh, they're already there and have been for a long time.
Well, the protests have hit Britain too, as we saw just a few minutes ago there. That was a protester outside the Iranian embassy in London, taking down one flag and putting up the old flag of Iran.
Which is interesting, isn't it? The fact this is really spreading. Let's talk to GB News presenter Camilla Tominey, who's in Westminster ahead of her show at 9:30 this morning. I mean, this is fascinating, Camilla, on so many fronts, because obviously Iran is such a thorn in the side of the West in so much that we try and want to achieve. Everyone is going to have to keep a very close eye on how this is working out.
Absolutely, and what a week it's been generally for foreign affairs. People might be scratching their heads and thinking why it might be there might be more of a reluctance from the US president to intervene here, where he did intervene in Venezuela, obviously forcing regime change with the removal of Maduro on one hand. And then we've witnessed these scenes now, not just this week, but for previous weeks over the whole Christmas and New Year period, seeing these escalation of protests. And I think previously in 2019, when the Ayatollah was able to gain back control, that was because there were only protests in certain pockets of Iran. Now they're completely widespread. And I think, as you say, both of you, looking at that footage, for instance, of our embassy in the UK, but also the idea of government buildings being on fire, lots of photographs that have gone viral on social media, even though there's a social media blackout in Iran. Of course, we're seeing videos and photographs of women lighting cigarettes with pictures of the Ayatollah. This does feel very different. And I'm going to be speaking to a former ambassador to Iran for his take on whether this is finally going to precipitate that regime change. You mentioned the exiled Shah. He's been speaking to the Mail on Sunday, asking for more Western support. But again, this puts pressure on Keir Starmer, doesn't it? We have a US president who is being analysed extensively in the Sunday papers today. Is he trying to disrupt the rules-based order of the West? And then I think Starmer, by comparison, looking quite limp, leaning into the coalition of the willing when it comes to Ukraine, but not quite able to work out how fully throated he can be in his support of Trump, because Trump, of course, has been accused of breaking something that Keir Starmer really respects, which is international law. So again, a dilemma. And on home soil, really interesting polling in The Sun on Sunday, revealing just how unpopular the Prime Minister is. And the reason for that is the cost of living crisis and how people, even if they're making a good household income, simply can't make ends meet. An interesting polling putting reform back into the 30s and Labour behind the Conservatives, which was something that was seen in a YouGov poll earlier this week. So speaking to the Labour MP Alex Ballinger about all of that, speaking to Kemi Badenoch's deputy Alex Burkhardt about the Tories, also speaking to that former ambassador of Iran, and Lord Frost in the studio to discuss something else that's going to make Starmer very unpopular, not least in the Red Wall, attempts to reverse Brexit.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part. Attempts to reverse
Brexit.
Oh, my goodness.
The B word, Anne, the B word.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, everything that you've just said is sort of, it's bubbling through the front pages of today's Sunday newspapers, including Nigel Farage, who's written in the Mail on Sunday, obviously very, very critical of Keir Starmer. Particularly, he blames him for allowing our military to become well, he says Keir Starmer is spineless, and he's turning the UK into a military pygmy.
Yes, and this is after the revelation by military chiefs that there is a £28 billion shortfall in the defence budget. And do you remember the rhetoric around increasing defence changed last year? Initially, it was a commitment to go up to 3.5% by 2035. Then suddenly it became an ambition. And that seems juxtaposed with some of Starmer's ambitions right now. We've already had talk, of course, of troops in Ukraine. Now, on the front of the Sunday Telegraph, Starmer entertaining the idea of troops in Greenland. Do we have these troops? Do we have boots on the ground? Do they have the right kit? These are all questions that we'll be posing on today's show from 9:30.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, there really is at the moment. Camilla, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, my goodness.
We'll see you then.
Yeah, front page of the Sunday Express is Kemi Badenoch as well, saying she's going to save our high streets and kickstart Britain.
Well, I mean, good luck to her.
Yes.
The trouble is, all these things are like huge projects. They're massive projects. I don't even... Well, it's their job to know how to do it, isn't it? I wouldn't know where to start. But things like pubs, actually, because we're seeing pubs dying out. like mad. And a lot of that is down to all these taxes. There's massive increase in taxes, and that's because the sort of rebate on business rates is being reversed. Let's talk about that being a U-turn tomorrow by the government, which would be U-turn number 12. I think it's number 12.
Say 13 or 14.
Well, you might be right. Who knows? There might
have
been a couple yesterday. I don't know. Anyway, one person who's condemned what they've called perverse taxes driving up the price of a pint is Sir Tim Martin, who you will know because he's the boss of Spoons.
Yep. The Wetherspoons boss says harsher taxes were to blame for the growing price gap between pubs and supermarkets, which he said may well be the last straw that breaks the industry's back.
Well, Sir Tim joins us now. It's really good to see you this morning. It's interesting to talk to you because we've talked to a lot of sort of independent publicans over the last couple of weeks or so and know how difficult it is for them. How is it for a big chain like Wetherspoons?
Well, I think that the entire industry, whether you've got one pub or 100, labours under the same handicaps, and they predate this government, although this government has made them a lot worse by a massive tax grab. And that is that for 25 years, 30, 40 years actually, pubs pay 20% VAT on food, which is a growing percentage of pub sales. For us this week, food is 40% of our sales. And supermarkets pay nothing. And we also pay much more business rates per pint. So it comes from an era 30, 40 years ago when pubs dominated the beer market, but they no longer do. So what's happened? It's widened the price gap for a pint between going to a pub and a supermarket, and pubs since the year 2000 have lost 50% of their beer sales. So it's a fraction of what it was when I started business 45 years ago. So that is the background, is you pay much more for a pint in a pub than a supermarket because the tax system is against you. And on top of that now, you've had very punitive tax and wage increases from government legislation, the last two budgets in particular. So you now have a crisis. I think people can't understand tax well. In the Treasury, etc., they think, yeah, we can whack taxes on pubs and everyone goes out to drink, so they'll have to pay it. And even some people in the industry can't believe that they're really competing with supermarkets because they're slightly different, but they are. That's the background. It's slightly complex, but your listeners will understand it.
Yes, I mean, it's a very British thing as well, isn't it? We're known the world over for being a nation that goes out to the pub. And it's always thought as well to be the best place to drink, frankly, not to go and load up your supermarket trolley with booze and take it home, but to go out, be with other people, and under the watchful eye, maybe, as well, of a publican. It seems to me, and lots of people, that this government doesn't sort of get Britishness. What would your message to Keir Starmer be?
Well, I have to say that I've been making this argument to governments of other hues, and they haven't exactly been too receptive. I always thought it would only come to the crunch, the fact that you need tax equality in the supermarkets, once pubs started closing. Now they're in real crisis and people have to listen. And my message to Keir would be, Keir, there's nothing more boring than staying in and staring at the four walls. If you've ever been to a Swedish village with no pubs, you'll know how desperate life can get. So if you want, it's a question for Keir, but it's more a wider question for the public. If you want pubs to stay and thrive, then you can't tax them at a much higher level than supermarkets. Supermarkets are very powerful. They do a great job for their customers. But if you want pubs to survive, Keir, I'd say, that, and maybe you don't, but I think you do, then you can't have higher taxes than for supermarkets. Simple as that.
But this is what drives me a little bit mad, Tim, is that it is simple, actually, and it's when we know that the economy needs to grow, and we know that Labour got into power on the basis that their economics were funded by the economy growing, then why are they being made? Decisions that actually slow down the economy, put people out of work, stop recruitment and close businesses?
Well, I'd love to say it was just Keir, but I think the big thing that people can't get out of their minds is it's not only pubs that sell beer. And therefore, if you speak to a lot of people in the pub trade, they can't bear the thought they're competing with supermarkets because the price differential is so great. So what they do in denial is they say, we're not. Whereas in fact, we know that the price differential gets big enough, people grab a few packs from the supermarket, stick it in the fridge. We've all done it.
All right,
we're all guilty.
Well, here's the maths then, because, of course, the argument from some people listening, watching, and Labour MPs may be, well, what we can't afford to do now is reduce a whole load of tax that the pubs are paying, and particularly on things like food and beer. But presumably, if the prices were reduced, if the tax was removed and the prices were reduced, sales would go up. It might actually increase the tax revenue for government.
Yes, I think that pubs inherently pay more tax than supermarkets and always will because they employ a lot more people per pint. And so taxes will go up. But what I spoke to someone from the Treasury once who said, just tell us what the problem is and don't tell us how to organise the taxes. So what the taxes need is what a guy called Luke Johnson, who's appeared on your shows sometimes, says is a sensible rebalancing. You need to rebalance it so there's equality, which is a tax principle between different types of businesses. But that's what you've got now, a slightly technical issue which goes beyond most people, including economists' comprehension, and a need for common sense and caring. But I think it'll be provoked by a rise in unemployment and closures of pubs. Unfortunately, that's when people will listen.
Very quickly, you've been in the business a long time and you said you've been critical of previous governments as well on this. Have you ever felt things be so bad?
No. I think they're particularly bad, particularly in the aftermath of the COVID lockdowns, which accelerated the trend towards home drinking. And we're creatures of habit, so we tended to stick with drinking at home much more than people anticipated.
Tim, it's lovely to talk to you. I keep going to Spoons and hoping you'll wander in one of the days, but
I will.
You've got lots of branches to choose from. It's really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Spark Fisher has already been in touch saying, Tim Martin is my hero. I love Wetherspoons. Yeah. I think,
You never walk out feeling ripped off.
That's what he says, yeah.
Refills on the coffee for breakfast are pretty good.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Refills on the coffee. Yeah. OK, now, time for the Great British Giveaway. Time is ticking away, so you need to get in with your chance to win it, because it's 85 grand in tax-free cash. Here's how to take part.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, still to come for you. How well is your local council dealing with potholes? You probably have no idea, to be fair, but they're introducing a new system that should let you know. We'll talk about that next.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
You're fed up of potholes? Sounds like an advert, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, because you do a lot of driving, do you come across them?
Yeah.
Have they been mending them recently? Because
where I live, they're pretty good.
Yeah, where
actually.
I live, we had some very big potholes and then they've all been done.
Yeah.
The question is, how well are they done?
Well,
because we just had this icy weather, and that can completely crack up a pothole all over again, can't it?
Can be useless. Anyway, should we talk to Mr. Pothole, Mark Morell, who joins us? Mark, good morning to you. A bit tight for time, but tell us about this new... They're bringing in this traffic light system. How's that going to work?
Well, it's supposed to rate your councils of how good they are, obviously, on red, amber and green. But to be honest, I'm somewhat dubious about it because Essex is rated as green, yet I know they've got £1 billion backlog in carriageway maintenance. So what's the metrics behind it? West Northamptonshire is rated as red and Oxfordshire as amber. Well, I can tell you from personal experience and my followers, Oxfordshire's just as bad. I just think it's a gimmick.
It sort of sounds a bit gimmicky, and we know that traffic light systems on the sugar content or salt content of food didn't work for anyone, as far as we know. And as I was saying, it's not just whether they do turn out and mend a pothole, it's how well they do it, isn't it?
Yes, to call it a repair. But to be fair to them, if you're trying to do a repair in the road that's at the end of its life, it's going to foul around the pothole because you've got cracking and crazing. I mean, it depends on how they set the system up to do the surveying, because I've heard some stories from people that I've got inside telling me that it was adjusted to make sure it looked more favourable than perhaps it was. But, I mean, that's me probably being a bit... sceptical about things. But, I mean, the best thing I said recently is I'm afraid the way the roads are going, I see it getting worse and worse. And the best thing people can do is take out an additional insurance for pothole protection, because you can get some good prices rather than having to pay a hefty bill. I mean, no one wants to pay any more money, but if you can pay £45 for a year cover that gives you £2,000 and doesn't affect your main insurance, I'm afraid it's the way I see the future going.
It looks like it, doesn't it? I mean, I know you've said before we need to spend, I can't remember if it was 16 or 32 billion. So it was a heck of a lot of money that we need to spend.
£17 billion backlog in carriageways in England and Wales. Government are saying that it's 1.6 billion this year is a record. Well, they don't seem to understand economics. I mean, in the 7-point-something billion that they've said over 4 years, 2 years ago, the road maintenance backlog got worse by £2 billion. This recent weather, and spot on, this recent weather will play havoc, and I've seen it happening day on day on badly maintained roads. So, you know, unless they actually put in an extra £3 billion a year index linked on an annual resurfacing programme, on top of what they're currently doing, and invest in some of the really good technologies that are out there, and increase the quality of the training of people, I'll be on it forever. I mean, I'm booked for life, I think, on GB News.
All right. We're out of time, Mark. We're really good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, here's the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. A very unsettled start to the day. Heavy rain, thick snow falling in places as well, icy conditions and strong and gusty winds. A change is happening. Milder air trying to come in from the Atlantic. Weather systems pushing north and eastwards. Tricky travelling conditions across parts of Scotland, northern England through the day as we see heavy snow changing to rain. The risk of flooding here, also parts of Northern Ireland as heavy rain continues. Strong and gusty southerly winds across the UK, driving more rain across England and Wales. Wind gusts in excess of 50-60 miles an hour in the north, and slowly turning milder, 11-12 Celsius across the west of the UK, still 3 or 4 in the east. And then through into the evening time, heavy rain across much of Scotland. This combined with snow melt as milder air moves in is likely to lead to flooding in places, so it is worth checking before travelling. Heavy rain starting to clear parts of Northern Ireland, still some strong and gusty winds through the evening time. Cloudy across much of England and Wales, further heavy rain which could lead to some disruption. Tricky travelling conditions as we go through the evening time. This all pushes north and eastwards as we head through into the evening and overnight. The centre of the low pressure could give some very strong winds across parts of Northern Ireland into northwest Scotland as we move into the early hours and the start of Monday. Showers following on behind, a much milder night. Temperatures above freezing across the whole of the UK, perhaps even 8 or 9 degrees as a minimum temperature across southwest England. Monday gets off to a mixed start, some strong and gusty winds, heavy rain across northern Scotland, slowly easing. Elsewhere, some brighter skies for a time before further heavy rain pushes in from the south across England and Wales. Some hefty downpours developing, some brighter skies for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but showers in between northern Scotland also seeing rain and mild weather for all.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think it's just good, honest, humble food. And yeah, as people get away from the ultra processed stuff and get back to their roots, and what's better than a good jacket potato?
Do you know what? Sales of jacket spuds have gone through the roof. The big potatoes at Waitrose. There's been a 178% increase in people looking at recipes. And I just think it's wholesome, it's affordable, it's comfortable, you know, it makes you feel good, it's back to basics. That, I think, at the moment, sums up the nation.
I think very much it being affordable as well, with the climate we're living in at the moment, it definitely helps knowing, you know, you're putting food on the table for a reasonable price, and people appreciate that. And it's good, honest food. You can feed your kids, and kids are seeing it on social media, and they're getting excited about it as well. So they're not like, you know, obviously everyone sees all the big brands, and now there's all these, you know, jacket potato people out there, and we're giving them something that's healthy, and they want to eat it. And I think the parents appreciate that.
And Ben, I've seen your videos. They queue around the block to get to you. If people are in the mood to cook a potato tonight, of course, we don't want to affect your sales. What is your sort of top of the pop spud recipe? Give it to us.
Oh, it's all about variety. It's picking the right potato is really important. Get a nice melody or a cara or culture or something like that. Nice and big. In the oven, if you can. Hour and 20. Get a nice crispy skin on there. Loads of butter, loads of cheese, and a nice curry on top or something. That's my go-to.
Ooh. Now that was a final little curveball they threw at the last minute there, Ben.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning.